Hello and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Tobago. I'm Davia Chambers and we're coming to you today from Buku. Of course, it's that time again for us to bring you all the major details of what's been happening in and around the Tobago. And while we do this over the next half hour, all you've got to do is pull up a chair and get comfortable. So we're going to get started right now with this week's headlines. The Tobago House of Assembly clears the air on a recent matter regarding checks issued to contractors. The island celebrates its senior citizens at an annual Christmas luncheon. A year after a new THA administration was installed, we look back at progress in the health sector, and later Goodwood Secondary does Christmas differently with brunch in the woods. We have all these stories and more when Let's Talk Tobago returns, so stay with us. Chief Management Accountant Petelan Roberts has issued an apology to contractors over recent challenges with Tobago House of Assembly checks. Mrs. Roberts says the issue related to 3 THA bank accounts was caused by a change in the Assembly's cash management system. In 2003, the THA decentralized its bank accounts to give divisions autonomy in managing their finances. 11 years later, in 2014, the government began the process of digitizing and modernizing its infrastructure. The Assembly's public financial management system was part of the pilot project.
So whilst we were undergoing all the change management and the developers came to Tobago and they saw the Tobago House of Assembly framework for bank accounts, they said, listen, this system requires fewer bank accounts. The THA had, in last fiscal, 70 bank accounts.
Wow.
So you can imagine how difficult it is to manage 70 bank accounts. So with Free Balance, which is the software that the THA will be adopting very soon, as soon as this week, we are just waiting word on central government. We had to have the changes of the bank accounts, and this was a direct result of what had transpired with the checks.
The Chief Management Accountant says the Assembly operated 70 accounts. In October, the operations were changed. This means the Division of Finance now has a strengthened treasury function for the THA. All of the accounts have been consolidated into 4 main accounts.
So we had divisional payroll accounts, divisional goods and services accounts, divisional development program accounts, and divisional special purpose accounts. So when the developers came and they looked at our framework, they said, listen, this cannot work in our IFMIS, in our information system that we want to adopt. So therefore, you have to change it. So we consolidated our resources in fiscal 2023, this fiscal. So all the releases are in 4 separate bank accounts rather than being disbursed to divisions. Now, when you issue a check, it's against the releases. These checks that bounce had nothing to do with this fiscal. Okay. These checks were issued prior to September. And therefore, persons who are now coming forward, and this is only evident in 3 bank accounts so far. I don't think we would see the issue because we have asked divisions to reconcile and look at your accounts, look at your unpresented checks, look at your unspent balance and ensure that you have the resources to which these checks can be matched against. So when the first check bounced, we had a meeting at the Division of Finance to treat with the matter. As a matter of urgency, I did call yesterday somebody who had a problem with their checks, somebody I knew who had a return check. And I asked, was your check reissued? And they told me yes.
Family law may not possess the prominence of its civil and criminal counterparts. However, it's just as important. That's why the recent Family Law Conference hosted right here in Tobago at the Magdalena Grand Beach and Gulf Resort grabbed the attention of officials. We have highlights from the opening ceremony in this story.
The International Society of Family Law, or ISFL, is an independent association dedicated to the study, research, and discussion of family law and related disciplines. And fittingly, its annual conference was recently hosted on our beautiful shores of Tobago, a place that's all about family love. The conference brings together researchers, academics, jurists, social workers, policymakers, and other professionals across the world. They share research, experiences, and ideas on human rights that impact us all.
And this conference provides that opportunity for us all. It provides an opportunity for us to even look at how something we never thought possible in our lifetime, such as a global pandemic that forced us to stay at home, how that has impacted our families. In most territories, we have seen an increase in domestic violence. We have seen a rise in conflict in the family. And maybe being forced to stay home made us recognize how much we perhaps didn't love each other. And with all those emotions, we have to find solutions. And we are counting on you in the legal fraternity to be a guiding light to all of us, especially to those within our society who from time to time take up the profession of being bush lawyers. And so we thank you for coming to Tobago and choosing Tobago as the space in which you can convene this conference.
In Trinidad and Tobago, there's been special emphasis placed on families, which are crucial in social development.
When it comes to family law in the Caribbean region, Trinidad and Tobago is one of the jurisdictions leading the charge. Over the years, many progressive pieces of legislation have been introduced with the aim of affording and upholding rights of family members. And institutions such as our trailblazing Family Court, established in 2004, the Children's Authority in 2015, and our Children Court in 2018 were established with a view to championing a more holistic and humane approach to resolving family conflicts and treating with children in conflict with the law. These strides are well in keeping with your conference theme, safeguarding the human rights of family members from womb to the tomb, as they recognize the importance of ensuring that families and family members are at all stages of life sufficiently protected from exploitation, empowered to make the right decisions, and equipped with the tools they need to thrive.
Donna Cox, Minister in the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, says government is committed to supporting families in Trinidad and Tobago. She says the theme for this conference is a timely one.
There is no doubt that the human rights challenges facing family today are more complex than 30 years ago. The challenges experienced by the family causes us to recognize that institutions cannot work in isolation, but must work together to ensure that family members are protected. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services has the lead responsibility for supporting families in Trinidad and Tobago, and we agree that this theme places on center stage the need for comprehensive and inclusive systems of care and support for families on the one hand, and the importance of continued collaboration among stakeholders on the other to protect the rights of all family members.
The conference was held at the Magdalena Grand Beach and Resort. It ran from December 13th to the 16th, 2002. I'm Josanne Brassi for Let's Talk Tobago.
Now, Christmas celebrations would not be complete without our senior citizens, and as in years gone by, the Office of the Chief Secretary has recognized many of the island's young at heart residents at a special luncheon. You can find out more about this year's event in this story.
Let's raise a toast, and we are toasting to longevity, long life, good health, good family, a beautiful island, good home, good access points to your homes, and above all, support and love from family, friends, and the Tobago House of Assembly. Cheers. Hip, hip, hip.
Hey. Get there.
It is an honor to honor the elderly. The Bible says that we must honor our mothers and our fathers, that our days may be long on the land. And that extends beyond just mommy and daddy to the grandparents and the great-grandparents. In fact, my very presence here is because some grandmother and grandfather took time to nurture me. We could thank all the people on this island, but if we don't thank you for the role you have played in building this island, then we would have failed you, and would have failed miserably.
You are not just a beacon of the bygone past, but treasures of the present and examples for the future.
Only them businessmen could pay. They say that Christ didn't walk on Christmas Day. They say it is a pagan's holiday.
Great, very great. I think it's one of the best things we had after the pandemic. It brings out a lot of people, a lot of my friends that I used to work with. I haven't seen them after I retire. So I was happy today to see them.
It was a great evening. It was a good evening, a great evening for the citizens. And this is something that you always look forward to at Christmas time. It normally happens in villages, normal villages, village to village, but this year it just extends to everybody one time.
It was great, it was great. I enjoyed everything about it. Every single thing about it I enjoyed. When my family come in, so I feel big and proud. I said, look, my grandson. It was great. I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
And how did you enjoy it?
It was wonderful. It was wonderful with the blessing of the Lord.
Early Christmas morning, everybody busy doing something. Who went waiting is coming.
The current Tobago House of Assembly administration recently marked 1 year in office. As such, we take a look at the progress made in the last 12 months, and we'll do so right after this break. Stay with us. With 12 months under the belt of the current THA administration, we're taking a closer look at the progress it's made to date. This week, we look at the health sector as Omadara Mills had a chat with Dr. Faith B. Israel, the Deputy Chief Secretary and the Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. We'll share a few of the major successes in that division in this story. Have a look.
One of the things we've done very early is to ensure that our healthcare workers have security of tenure. What do we mean by that? We came in very quickly and offered at least 3-year contracts for the healthcare workers who were on at that time month to month. It's a process that has been ongoing. All of these healthcare workers who were on month-to-month before have actually gotten their 3-year contracts thus far. Those individuals who have been working before in the TRHA, who maybe had a year contract or something like that, as their contract has come to an end, we are also offering them 3-year contracts. Roxborough Health Facility is one of those areas that I'm very, very proud of. We are at the point now where it is not a hospital just yet. We don't have 24-hour service at the health facility, but we have the health center services functioning as normal. We have outpatient clinics working normally. We also have an accident and emergency room facility, but that is only Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The rest of the hospital is really outfitted to provide the inpatient services, but we are currently waiting on the necessary staff to make that a reality. I am very proud though of the fact that we've been able to bring relief to a lot of the people who needed cataract surgeries. We are at this point close to 300 surgeries having completed already, and we are still continuing that process. So that is something that I'm really, really proud of. We have in the healthcare system started working on our diagnostic systems. The radiology department has actually gone through quite a bit of an overhaul where they have improved their workflow. So the places where the various scans are done is actually now different, is redesigned to allow for a better workflow and so forth. What we've focused on in social protection really has been to beef up the staffing, because they were really under pressure. The social workers were overworked, the therapeutic counselors were overworked. So we spent this year working on redesigning the structure of the entire division, and that is going to roll out in the next fiscal. But we spent this year ensuring that we actually had the staff to provide the kind of support that is necessary for those types of clients. We actively created a task force that had the responsibility of going through some of our old requests for support. So requests for rental assistance, requests for food and that kind of thing, to ensure that we had cleared that backlog as well. So we did spend quite a bit of time identifying who these people were, going through the process with them, those who qualified, providing the support to them, and clearing that backlog. So we are going into the new year with less of a backlog of people who required social support, social protection in the past. I think we did a pretty good job. We came into a system where individuals were coming out of COVID, individuals were tired, individuals were beaten. I mean, the medical staff and the social protection staff were the ones who had been working during COVID when the rest of us could have stayed home, kind of thing. So we spent this year trying to beef them up, trying to beef up their morale, trying to allow them to understand that we are not taking you for granted. We understand the kind of work that you do. And I think because we've been able to have that kind of open conversation, the morale of the staff has actually improved significantly, and that is going to ultimately result in better service. So I think we've done a pretty good job.
For schools in Trinidad and Tobago, Christmas means exams and then a well-deserved break. It's usually punctuated with a class celebration where students come together to have fun. Goodwood Secondary School in East Tobago did it a little differently this year with brunch in the woods. We have highlights in this story.
No school fair, no class party, not a problem. Instead, Goodwood Secondary School opted for a non-traditional celebration. The institution hosted its first annual Brunch in the Woods, a picnic affair.
Brunch in the Woods is a picnic affair where it's like our end of term class party, but we're going on a larger scale. So it's a picnic affair where we bring everything out in the open, we celebrate under the sun, we eat, we drink, we have entertainment by our very own kings and queens of Goodwood Secondary School, and it's an opportunity for us to have all the stakeholders on the compound with us and just celebrate.
Secretary of the Division of Education, Research and Technology, Zoisha Hackett, thoroughly enjoyed this unique event. She even had the opportunity to learn.
I just want to comment on how creative an event like this is. I mean, coming to the end of an academic year, an academic term at that, where we've had so many challenges just getting back into the what we call regular curriculum. When you see events like this, you're very, very impressed by the fact that a school has been able to use nature, right, and the balance of the natural environment and bring that as a part of the curriculum and have students so immersed in this educational experience.
Past and present students were happy to be part of an event like this.
It was a very good idea. It is going really, really nice. It turned out better than I expected. It was executed nicely.
I think the brunch was well executed. It's been a long time since we had an event, a school event, and I was looking forward to it. And the expectations was high, and they succeeded. It was a success.
Well, it's the same thing for me. I think that it was one of the best ideas could ever put forward to. And I think everything is looking amazing, and it could happen many more times again.
The initiative is a good initiative. It shows that there's a lot of camaraderie going on within the schools. Alongside when we got invited to work alongside with Miss Maslin. I was happy to get on board because we always dreamt of coming back to the school to actually do something for the school. So I'm glad Miss here. So we know we're seeing this going a lot further than here today.
Brunch in the Woods, a picnic affair, was held on the school's compound in Goodwood. I'm Marlon Gottsliben for Let's Talk Tobago.
The name John Arnold has been associated with music and culture in Tobago for decades. In this next story, he tells us about the inspirations behind his memoir entitled Tobago Son, which takes a candid look at his experiences over the years. Here's more from Omadara Mills.
The two main concerns for me were how this surgery would affect my ability to urinate, and also how do I cope with sex. Because two common side effects of the surgery were urinary incontinence and erectile dysfunction. I recall talking with my mother and telling her about these areas of concern, and her comments were that I had had enough sex in my life already, and so that area was not an issue.
Surviving prostate cancer is just one of the many experiences John Arnold shares with the world in his memoir, Tobago Son. Mr. Arnold penned the book alongside veteran journalist, editor, and author Lisa Allen Agostini. The book chronicles Mr. Arnold's life and major points in his career, from his recollections of Hurricane Flora in 1963, his passion for music, his teaching career, his connections with the Signal Hill Alumni Choir, to his involvement in various culinary, cultural, and musical events on the island. This 64-year-old writer says it was strange holding his own book for the first time.
The manuscript, which is like your computer, is completely different to when you have this in your hand. And you're watching all the pictures, and this is the book, you know. So I have to tell you, that was a surreal moment. It was really something else to hold the book in my hand, take it out, and actually, you know, and start to read, and you almost didn't believe, hey, this is what you actually said in those interviews.
Two book launch events were held, one in Trinidad, the other in Tobago. Mr. Arnold appreciates the support he's received from various people. He says the book is meant to motivate and inform readers about his experiences.
I'm really glad that the people who have read the book have given me some interest in Dr. MacDonald said something that was very, I think, so far is the best. You know, he says that it made him understand my contribution to Tobago so much more. And he says it is definitely a testimony of history, culture, anthropology, sociology, and innovation. He says he will recommend this to anybody.
Tobago Son is available on Amazon. You also have the option to purchase a hard copy from John Arnold himself. Just call 751-5027. I'm Omadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
So we have to take another break, but do not go away. Let's Talk Tobago. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Residents of Fiddlewood Drive and the neighboring streets in New Grange development have much to smile about. The community benefited from rehabilitation works by the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development. It's part of a larger plan to improve Tobago's road network, one road at a time. Here's this story.
Kudos to the Division of Infrastructure.
Living in New Grange development, 20-something years. I live in Fiddlewood Drive, New Grange development for the past 19 years.
I've been here since 2017.
I built a house in 2004. We keep going to the authorities for assistance to repair the roadway here and no assistance.
They had laid some stuff, some stones, I don't know if it's crushed on you call that or so, on the road. You know, we were really expecting the developer to pave the road for us. He was supposed to, but unfortunately he passed away and left it undone.
When we reformed before, the road used to be like a V. People be skidding. I was forced to buy four-wheel drive vehicle. But other times I get fed up because the plan was to fix it with oneself. It used to happen inside there. The drainage, they start the drainage and never finish. So when the water coming from in the back by Canby, the road used to flood. The drive used to happen the modern rainfall to modern drive and stone. I come and sweep it off every minute. Mr. Fraser, he came down and saw the road and said, "Now this road have to fix."
And we were quite happy to see he came in and did this job for us.
The neighbors feel very, very good about the road. No complaints. Feel very good. Very good. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, I will appreciate it, man.
So we have come to the end of yet another edition of Let's Talk Tobago, and as always, we thank you for watching. Please email us with your comments or queries about the program, and be sure to visit our website. You can also like our Office of the Chief Secretary Facebook page, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. From our house to yours, I am Davia Chambers, along with the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly, wishing you a safe and fantastic week.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live this morning from the Port Mall in Scarborough. Viewers, it's Christmas season. It's the Christmas season, and the countdown is on. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet, and this morning I'm here solo, and we just want to wish Ria, all the best out there, wherever she is. Ensure that you keep safe, Ria, out in the mix. All right, viewers, we got an interesting morning ahead for you. Discussions and continued developments and things happening here and updates within our Tobago space and even beyond Tobago. And at this point, we head on over to news in 90 seconds.
Season's greetings to you, Julian, and to the rest of our viewing audience. Good morning, everyone, and this morning I have your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, the 20th of December. The Fraud Squad launches an investigation into the $6.7 million facility in Goldsboro. Chairman of TADCO, Ricardo Alfred, invited the media to tour an incomplete processing facility constructed under the previous THA administration. Farmers in Goldsboro criticized TADCO for failing to utilize the facility in favor of engaging a company in Trinidad to handle agro-processing. However, Alfred indicated they had no choice because the facility was far from ready to do so. In the meantime, Former Chief Secretary Ansel Dennis accuses the current administration of leaving the building to languish while they launched another witch hunt against a Tobagoan contractor. Additionally, the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development reported that all healthcare workers would be receiving their ex gratia payments today. The grants were issued by central government to healthcare workers for their service during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, those grants carry a tax of 25% per the Income Tax Act. Also, commencing today, are payments of the cleanup campaign workers. Checks can be collected by the Shore Park facility between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. And finally, the Privy Council restored a $2 million judgment ordered in 2019 for a teenage boy who was bullied and sexually abused at the St. Michael's home for the boys in St. Anne's. Before he was placed in the care of the Children's Authority. Previously, the state appealed the original judgment, reducing the amount to $844,650 in damages, completely wiping out the $1 million in vindictory damages. After hearing the appeal, the Privy Council restored Quinlan Williams' award of $921,200 in the compensatory damage of $1 million in the vindicatory damages. That was your news in 90 seconds. Julian, back to you.
Thank you very much there, Chanel. And I must say, Chanel, it appears that our callers are really working and coordinating this morning. Viewers, we continue to thank you so much, each and every one of you, choosing the Tobago Updates morning show. A very interesting development happening there, particularly that once again we see the political back and forth issues being raised in relation to the facility that would have been done spending great sums by the former administration, and of course launching the necessary investigations into whether or not these funds were utilized fully to the benefit and directed completely at the facility as intended. And then you have on the flip side the former administration indicating yet another witch hunt, seeking to head out again to say that you're going to do the necessary inquiries. And I suppose the communication and the indication is that it's going to yield nothing necessarily. So we wait to see how this one will turn out under the circumstances. All right, viewers, at this point we prepare to head on into our birthday celebrations for today. Birthday celebrations, or should I say birthday and anniversary celebrations this morning. All right, and we get started on screen with Amanda Roxanne Prescott. And we want to wish you a happy birthday going out to Amanda Roxanne Prescott. Wishing you a happy birthday and God's continued blessings. Anton Alexander, today is your day. And we're wishing you a happy birthday going out to Anton Alexander. And this birthday greeting is coming from Elton Richardson and family and the entire Tobago Updates family, wishing Leston Williams a happy birthday goes out to you, Leston Williams, from Elton Richardson and family. And this birthday greeting is going out to Miriam Richardson on screen from all the uncles, aunties, and cousins with love. And that comes from Rhea Richardson, George, and the entire family sending you love on this birthday, Miriam Richardson. We also have a birthday greeting here going out to Lydian Leet, celebrating, and this comes from your bestie, Leslie Ann, niece Garvey and Anton, and we're wishing you a happy birthday here, Lydian Leet, coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. Yes, look, the superstar on screen, Leslie Ann Ellis. All right, but today we are focusing on Lydian Leet, wishing you a happy birthday. Birthday shout out to Marlon Thomas. Marlon Thomas, we trust that you have an enjoyable birthday celebrations. Wishing you the very best, coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. We got on screen here Rhea Richardson George. Yes, but it's not Rhea's day. This is Anton Alexander. All right, so Anton Alexander in photo there with Rhea. We're wishing you a happy birthday, Anton Alexander. And on screen we have Brenda Brown. fondly known throughout church and community circles as Mom Bess. And this greeting is coming from Rhea and the entire family there at church and her family as well, wishing you a happy, happy birthday, Brenda Brown. And on screen, I have an individual here, Ifani and Nicole Ujoro, celebrating their anniversary. And folks, this is a combination of celebrating their 30th wedding anniversary, 30 years later, and wishing a happy, happy anniversary to Dr. Ifani and Nicole Ujoro. All right, we trust that you enjoy your anniversary celebrations. And this is a birthday shout out going out to Audit Isaac from the Bronx and Richardsons and George. So you're getting an entire family combination greeting there. Wishing Audit Isaac a happy, happy birthday and God's continued blessings as you enjoy the celebrations. All right. So indeed, our lineup there for birthdays and anniversaries this morning. And we want to wish each and every one of you and all persons, in fact, celebrating a birthday today in this season. We want to wish you the very best and God's continued blessings. And also to those who are celebrating anniversaries at this time, we send out our greetings to all, courtesy the Tobago Updates team here, wishing you the very best. You know, I've always wondered, folks, you know, when you celebrate a birthday so close to Christmas, do you usually get two gifts? Or do you get one gift that says, you know, happy birthday and Merry Christmas, by the way, see you next year kind of thing? Always an interesting kind of development. I've always had that discussion with one of my friends that's actually born on Christmas Day. All right. Very interesting to say the least. All right, folks, in the rundown this morning, we will have on with us Assemblyman Ian Pollard, Secretary for the Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development. He'll be on with us this morning. And we're speaking about knowledge sharing and the training mission that took place to Jamaica with Secretary Ian Pollard and the team going out there. So we look forward to getting some insight and details in relation to that visit and plans specific at that for Tobago. And this morning we'll also be chatting with Abini Taylor, educator and the CEO of School of Foreign Language. And we're going to be speaking about maximizing my 24 hours. And if you know Abini Taylor, ideal person to have that discussion with, because it seems as though she's able to maximize even beyond 24 and to find ways to make it work. So we look forward to having those discussions about maximizing my 24 hours with Abini Taylor. All right, folks, so that's the exciting morning that we have set for you on the lineup. And we see on screen there, coming up, Assemblyman Ian Pollard. And he's still in work mode, so he had to rest down the tablet or the device for a bit. All right, as we prepare to head on and to have some discussions with him as we speak to plans and projections. And of course, getting his perspective on the last year here within the Tobago space under this new administration. Folks, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support. And as we always indicate, we are number one because of each and every one of you. And so we want to continue to thank and to express our appreciation to you. And just before we head on out in this segment, this morning, yes, let me pause and rock back for a moment. This is where I give Rhea usually some trouble on set. A shirt and blazer this morning, courtesy Checkpoint, and that's Checkpoint located at Upper Main Street in Scarborough. In fact, they cater to the many events. They indicated to me it's now the Christmas season. So, you know, you might have those dinners, those activities, those wedding celebrations that you want to head out to. They're preparing for the groom as well as for the guests in attendance. So you could come, you could get something simple and classy, you could get something fancy and stand out. Shirt and blazer this morning, courtesy Checkpoint. Remember to check Checkpoint located at Upper Main Street in Scarborough, and that's 639-5148. Checkpoint. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support, and to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Spread Christmas joy and cheer with a loan from Lambo Credit Union this year. Get 100% financing for shopping, home renovations, furniture and appliances, debt consolidation and much more. Did we mention no payments until the end of January 2023? Get the most flexible repayment periods and the best interest rates around. Call 639-5060 to book your appointment today, or visit us on Facebook or Instagram. Wishing you a happy holiday from Lambo Credit Union. And remember, we are always here for you.
Level up for Christmas. Level It's Christmas time at Le Mage Parfait Day Spa.
And we invite you to indulge in a range of gift vouchers, gift packages, body pampering services, and more. We can even host your next spa party. With 2 branches conveniently located in Trinidad and Tobago, we look forward to making your experience beautifully unforgettable. Call us today or visit our website, elparfait.com.
Feliz Navidad. Bienvenido a Le Mage Parfait Day Spa.
Was a while before Christmas, and all through the land, people was putting away house with very little money in hand. They was painting and cleaning and doing their chores, but I went to hunt for deals at American stores. Deals on living and dining room sets, on fridges and stoves, beds and cabinets, on washers and dryers, small appliances cheap. Even TVs and stereos, prices just can't be beat. So let's Christmas together at American stores. After all, what they tell me, anything could be yours.
Anything can be yours at American stores.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash in transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with TADCO. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the TADCO app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. TADCO. Relax, we will get it to you. TADCO's at your service.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning.
Good morning, viewers. It's 7:11 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. Viewers, in this segment, we have the pleasure of chatting with Assemblyman Ian Pollard, Secretary with responsibility for the Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development. Morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Julian.
As a gentleman said on set yesterday, morning to you, Assemblyman Whitey.
Good morning to you, Julian.
We are indeed happy to have you on this morning as we begin to get into the conversation, speaking to the recently held trip to Jamaica. But just before we get to tap into that, I want to get a sense from you. We are just over the year mark, hitting into the Christmas season. You have a division where everybody looks forward and hopes for that day where they can own their very own or get that grant to help with something that they have. What's your overall assessment on a scale of 1 to 10 with the progress that has been made thus far?
Well, before I go further, I would just like to say good morning to the electoral district of Mason Mariah, and by extension, the whole of Tobago. And I would like to say special compliments of the season to all of us here in Tobago and my new friends in Jamaica, the Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Ms. Audrey Sewell, who is the Permanent Secretary to the Prime Minister, Dr. Carol Archer, Ms. Aldine Shillingford, Mr. Martin Millard, the Director of NHT, National Housing Trust, Mr. Richard Cargill, and Ms. Wendy Joe, persons who made our trip possible.
All right, excellent.
But going back to the division, I would say we are at a 6 because I really like to mark myself hard. I wish we could have done more for the people of Tobago because that is my passion, providing the services to the people of Tobago. But it was a learning curve. You know, we're new to the system, so we learn as we go along. Some of the things, I've never been at this level in public service. So I come from a private service background. So, it takes time to get everything done. So I'm hoping that we could bring the division forward up to speed that we operate in the private sector. So we could really deliver to the people of Tobago who are in need, not who want, but who are in need.
Would you say, as secretary, as we get started, I want you to give us a sense of the main objectives and in some ways tie that into your priorities here within the Division of Settlement for this current administration.
Well, my objective is to provide housing for the most vulnerable and for persons in Tobago, because we have a lot of working poor people, and provide housing for as much as I could, or the division could. We are going to embark on starting 3 major projects in this new fiscal year, and we're hoping to do something that has never been done on the island. In that those 3 major projects is supposed to bore like about 700 plus units. So it's about bringing relief to those, and we're going to go into a social housing program where we go out there and assist those indigent, those persons who cannot afford, that we could use some of the money that we usually use to subsidize housing to construct new homes for persons who are really in need.
All right. Tell us, why Jamaica?
Jamaica has a successful model in the housing initiative. The NHT, the National Housing Trust, Julian, they oversee over 222,000 units. They build 1,000 units per year minimum. And the way how they go about the process of gathering the information, how they send the teams out in the field to actually gather the data, the whole process, I mean, it is mind-blowing. They didn't get there overnight, but it's something that we could learn from here in Tobago, because we have the persons coming into our division and make the necessary application. But as a social division as we are, I, as secretary, think it is wise that we take our service to the community and not have them come, especially post-COVID, where persons would have been suffering from money shortages and stuff like that. It's time that we hit the road and reach the people, take the service to the people, and not have them come to the division.
Tell us, what were some of the things you and your team would have been exposed to over the few days that you would have spent there in Jamaica? And I noticed particularly you've defined it's not just a trip, but that knowledge sharing and training mission in Jamaica.
Well, Julian, like I said earlier, the way how they gather the information, I mean, the staff that they have going out and gather the information, I mean, the work that they do, they send out not just the site control officers, but engineers accompany them. So if no persons are to construct homes, the engineer will say, well, I think if it's a big parcel of land, I think it's best suited this way. It's going to cost less instead of going on this slope. So it's done in tandem. And what is mind-blowing is that they have a 60-day maximum period for full approval. Everyone is on board. And that is why we are trying to replicate that in the Division of Settlements, where we have all the stakeholders around the table, EMA, Tongue and Country, Fire, WASA, TADCO. We have all of them around the table. So when we are planning our development, everyone could be on board so that they have their input. Because that's what we find lacking when we went to the division, Secretary George and I, is that developments would have started years ago under the previous administration, and then in the late half, they are now looking to go and get the necessary approvals. We don't want to run afoul of the law. We want to act above the law and within the law, so that when we are about to do our development, we have everybody buying, so we can have approvals in the shortest possible time. So they have a 60-day maximum period. When they send out the RFP for request for proposal, Julian, it is done over a 4-day period. 4 days you have to get on the website and put in your information and put in your bid for these jobs. So we want to bring Tobago to that place. I'm glad that Tongue and Country is back under us, thanks to the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, that they are not fully here, but they have moved now to a 21-day period that you could get your outline approval, and that is a marked improvement because everyday material prices go up. So if we could get these approvals, so persons could get the approvals that they need so they could access funding, so they could start constructing their house as soon as possible, it's going to be a burden off the population.
All right. So I know that this trip would have taken place. What would you define as probably an aspect coming out of the entire trip that you were most impressed with? You think you could come down to select one?
Julian, there are numerous, but just the way how they develop, how the program is developed. I mean, the buy-in, because the National Housing Trust it's open to the entire country. It's a statutory deduction, just like we have NIS deduction and PAYE. And even though you're in the private sector, you could pay into the National Housing Trust. So that's why they have everyone could participate. When we were there, they were doing a development with 400 units. They had 20,000 applicants. Everybody in the country is involved in this development. And what I like most about the Jamaican model and the Jamaican people are they're proud about what they're doing. This is how these people take care of their housing development. They don't wait on the government. They get together. I've seen men who are retirees cut down lands and prepare football field for the young men in the community. If you are sick and you're living in one of these communities, you have no one to take care of you. They have transportation to take you to the doctor, wait on you, bring you back. I mean, it is so loving. It reminds me of the way we were in the 60s and 70s in Tobago, where we look out for each other. So I hope that we could get back to that place. But I mean, it is mind-blowing the way how they structure everything, how they plan. They don't do plan over election cycle. They do long-term planning. And everything they do is about Jamaica. And it's high time whatever we do, it must be about Tobago.
Tell us, Secretary, now normally one of the challenges, and I want to get to where I'm sure viewers and listeners want to get to, we have secretaries and chief secretaries that have taken trips and carried contingents and came back and delivered an excellent report and then nothing. The question to you is, give us a sense in terms of what are some of the specific policies that you envision that the THA also will be able to adopt comparatively to this new, this housing program model that you would have seen in Jamaica?
Well, one thing, Julian, what we have to do, the price of the normal constructed material, cement and steel, is very expensive for the average man. There are alternative materials that you could use out there that are durable and could withstand the same hurricane or earthquake disasters. So it's high time we move to a model that we're not accustomed to, but it's affordable. So I'm hoping that we could move to that stage that we could construct homes using affordable, alternative materials, and that we as the division could now use whatever funds that we have to really assist those who are in need. That's why we are moving to the stage where we're going to the design, build, finance. So have persons come in to help construct the homes that need it. We have a database of between 5,000 to 8,000 persons. Obviously, we don't have enough lands to give everyone a 5,000 square feet of land. But what we are looking at now, Town Country have bought into it, we know before on the law books, it was that we couldn't build higher than a coconut tree in Tobago. Now we are accessing, we could get approval for 6 or 8 story buildings. So we are looking to do that where persons could purchase apartments, purchase townhouses. We have to change the landscape because the landscape is changing. It's not like long ago where we had a goat or a sheep or even a fowl to tie out. Young people nowadays more concentrated to their homes. So it's from work to homes. So I mean, what we could maximize on is the airspace, and we intend to go up in the air and provide affordable housing for those who are in need.
All right. Since your return from the trip, give us a sense of, if any, or what steps have been taken thus far in the direction of being able to action some of those ideas and projections in terms of going forward.
Well, Julian, the first thing we have to do is look at our policies. Our policies in the division, I could say, without a doubt, most divisions are outdated and needs to be changed. So we have to now restructure our whole division. I mean, the staffing, we have to do some changes. I always tell my staff up to yesterday, we had a heads of section meeting, and to let my supervisors know that there will be restructuring. Restructuring means that some persons might be displaced, but we have to put the persons in the right place in order if we are to deliver to the people. So the first thing we have to do is restructure and then get the approval from the executive council so that we could put the monies in the right place to help the person. So that's the first thing we have to start to have the right persons. In our data gathering, we have to have the number of persons out there because, as I said before, we are social division. Julian, you wouldn't believe the number of calls I get in the nighttime with women being put out, women in bus sheds sleeping with their children, have nothing to eat. Because post-COVID have caused a lot of problems, domestic problems in the homes. And we have to respond to these things. So we have to have the right number of staff, the right person, the trained person to deal with this situation. And though the average Tobagonians may not be seeing it with their eyes, but it's out there, it's real. And the poverty level is real out there. So that's the first thing we have to do, get the right persons in place so that we really bring effective change to the people of Tobago.
So just to clarify again, so I want you to, just for the benefit of those viewing and listening, so the focus group that you're going to look at in the first instance will be those who are at risk in the Tobago space.
Yes. We are now awaiting designs from one more developer that we want to bring a new style of housing to Tobago that could be constructed between 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And once we could do that, we're going to help those. We're going to try at least, because when I was in Jamaica, I accompanied the Prime Minister. My team and I accompanied the Prime Minister in giving out 6 houses. So if we start with building at least 1 or 2 houses in each electoral district to persons who are in need, we are across the board. There's no separation of Fali and Friends and PNM. We are helping those who have been, because people are suffering throughout the length and breadth of Tobago. So if we have the funding that persons would come in and do design bill and they get the money down the road, the finance down the road, we're going to help those who are really needing at least 2 constituencies, to each constituency, 2 homes in each constituency. And then we have the larger steel developments that will be going on at Adventure, Mason Hall, and Chauvin. But the first thing would be helping those who are in really need. So as soon as I get those costing and those designs, this division is going to make a decision, and then we're going to push on ahead.
All right, so I'm glad you spoke in relation to that. We have within the Tobago space naturally now the challenge between and the issues in terms of contractors. Where's your focus as secretary? Is it exclusively a focus and a priority on local contractors, or is your focus also simultaneously on being able to deliver to the people of Tobago? What's your approach as secretary in that regard?
My approach is delivery to the persons, to people of Tobago. I am going to defend the Tobago contractors to the hilt, no matter who is awarded a contract. You see, we normally have contract where it's 40% local content and it's just labor. As I said earlier, no one in Tobago, no contractor in Tobago could say that they have built 40, 50 houses in a development. I'm asking in some places, Chevron could hold 400 units. Maidstone could hold 100 plus. Adventure in Plymouth still has room for 150. Even though the contract is given to somebody from Mars, I am going to advocate on behalf of the Tobago contractors so they could get the necessary learning, the method of the construction that they might bring to the island and develop. Once I could provide home for the people and employment for the young men and young women who are out there, that is what I'm concerned about. You see, some contractors have met me and said that let us go with the normal building model, at least you could provide more employment. But what about the persons who are calling down my phone every day and saying they're fed up of renting? They're being put out. Up to this weekend, a lady called me and her neighbor in a housing development, father and son, evicted. The doors were locked. I had to call one of my colleagues in Canaan and said, could you drop some food for them so they could eat? I mean, it's out there, it's real. So my goal or my aim is helping those who are out there, the end users who really need. The contractors could make money. Whether you're the main contractor or you're a subcontractor, you could make money. Because it's not like only 10 houses we're going to build. We're talking about 700 plus units. So I want everyone to get on board to make the money that will come. If someone brings 40, 50, $200 million to the island, we have to see how we could keep it here. So to me, my objective, and I'm certain I speak on behalf of the Executive Council, is providing housing to the people who are in need.
So you are looking at this. So what I'm gathering from what you're saying is that you are looking ultimately, we can hold you to that collective model, opportunities for learning, being able to deliver to the people of Tobago, ultimately at the same time, simultaneously. So we're not just sticking to what might be. And many persons, anybody involved in the construction sector will tell you the traditional model, the price is sky high. So we can hold you to that commitment.
Hold me to that commitment because my intention is to deliver those 700 plus units in the next 3 years.
All right. Just before we wrap this segment, one of the things we want to get an idea of, Jamaica has been where you would have head out to, gotten a lot of exposure and knowledge, and so are there any other considerations looking at within the region or beyond in terms of housing policy models that will be up for consideration?
Well, I was told by a colleague, Guyana is doing very well. Guyana model, I mean, the housing industry, they have taken off. And I had a friend who called me from Dubai last week, and he said, if you haven't been to Dubai to see development, you haven't seen development yet. Because he was staying at a hotel and 400 persons were working around the clock. And that is one of the frightening things for me. And that's why I keep echoing every time I'm on television or every time I speak on the media, is to have my people ready. Because when you come, if I'm going to advocate on your behalf to be employed, the young men and young women must prepare to work 8 hours or even push to 16 hours per day. Who could afford to do it? Or you have a shift system. But I am going to look foolish as a secretary, as advocating to bring employment to you and persons still want to go with the mentality of working an hour and a half. That will mean bringing labor from outside. So I'm trying to get my people mentally ready because you first have to be mentally ready to know that, okay, it's not the hour job or hour and a half work. It's about 8 hours because when a person comes with their money, they want to return as quickly as possible. So that means you have to put in the work. So I'm hoping that the young men and young women grasp the opportunity to make some money because times are getting tougher and tougher every day. So that is my greatest concern, getting my people ready.
All right, excellent. All right, viewers, we just had about 7:28 a.m. this morning, and have no fear, we're just heading off to a break. We will be continuing the conversation. I know we have a number of areas we haven't touched yet with Secretary Pollard. All right, so remember to stay tuned, and this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice can't get damaged bad.
I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry, if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, if sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry, if times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, buljoil and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Mamai Lakai Home Services. We specialize in cleaning of carpets and rugs, mattresses, living room and dining room sets, vehicle detailing, cleaning and sanitizing of homes and commercial spaces. We also do landscaping and tree cutting, pressure and power washing, floor care, fumigating and air purifying. You can also call us for professional painting services, babysitting and adult sitting. Call us now 333-4430 at Mamai Lakai Home Services. We take cleaning to another level.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. It is 7:31 a.m. We're coming to you live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. And this morning we continue the conversation with Assemblyman Ian Pollard on set with us as we speak to the Jamaica housing model and this knowledge sharing and training mission that they would have been on. All right, so we started the first segment looking at it very much in detail, Assemblyman Ian Pollard. And in the latter part, and I want you to just remind us in terms of as we approach the the 3-year period, is it that this commitment in terms of houses will be based on the same model we have seen in the past where you try to develop one area exclusively, or we can look forward to sharing within the various communities as would have been some of the commitments and things spoken about earlier with this administration? What's the approach?
You're going to have it sharing within the communities, because I know time is against us because 1 year has already passed. But my thing about it is just deliver it to the people. Now, as one of my chief secretary said a couple of weeks ago, there's money awash in the world today. Persons with money. And if we have to deliver to our people and they're willing to wait for payment, just as Secretary James is doing in the Division of Infrastructure, it's a model that we have to adopt. Because clearly the subventions from Trinidad isn't enough. If I'm supposed to wait on subventions from the budgetary allocation to develop houses in Tobago, I probably might do 5 houses per year. And that is not enough for me, because I hear the cry of the people and I want to meet the needs of the people. You see, you give people this sense of dignity that they own lands. I have so many nurses from in my community have packed up shop and gone to the United States or England to ply their trade, to make money, to come back to build a home here. When we could provide these homes here for them at affordable cost and have them provide the services here. The protective services. I mean, in Jamaica, they have protective services lined throughout the whole of all the developments. Every aspect of their protective services are for the houses, and with the number that houses units we're going to produce now, it's going to be available to more applicants, because normally you take 5% or 10% of this, so the numbers could increase. Once you have the number, the volume that you're producing increases, you have more persons will get the opportunity. But my thing is about providing the opportunity so that persons could live a decent life.
All right. So as we look to all aspects of Tobago, we would have had a redefining of the division of settlement, public utilities, and rural development. And I want to use the opportunity to dive in a little bit to rural development. Tell us a little bit about what has been the operationalization, and this reconstituted unit under this current administration, given the new mandate.
Well, first I must say we have young, brilliant minds in this unit now, headed by Ms. Shanna Thomas, also a master's degree in coastal engineering. I mean, Mr. Kino, I can't remember his last name, but we have Otis Noel, we have brown, intelligent person that want to really develop the island. They were given the mandate of developing the rural areas from Mount St. George, come right around to Golden Lane. But they are not confined to the division of settlements. They are to partner with each division to execute any project within the rural areas. So they're going to be working with Ms. Natisha Pantin and her division. They're going to be working with Secretary Boris and the Tourism Division. They're working with the Chief Secretary as the area representative. So there are many aspects there into what we want to eliminate is the migration of the population from east to west. So there's a thought that if we could purchase lands in the rural areas and have persons construct even pockets of home, even though it's 10 homes in each area, that at least persons could stay, because we don't want everybody just living in the east or north and coming out to the west to find employment or to live. So I know that is one of the things they are looking at. They are looking at solar lighting around the rainforest areas because they are more eco-friendly. And they are about to establish some nature trails from probably Castara over to Mount St. George side. They're working with Ms. Pantin and they are connecting those hiking trails, because Julian and Tobago, we have to monetize our island. Nothing should be for free here, especially when we're encouraging tourism, because the tourists come here to spend their money. So things like this, opening of Highland Waterfall between my community of Mason Moriah, you have to have business. Opening up of Cotton Bay on the north side, Bloody Bay, Lansome, these are areas that must be open. You could have hotels open up in these areas so that at least increase the commerce so that persons could really strive. When you go there and the young men and young women finish school in Lansome, Bloody Bay, they just stay home in the village and look for a CPEP book, and that is enough, but that is not enough. We have to monetize our islands, because the persons come here to spend their money, and there must be places that you could carry them, that you could attract that, and have them spend their money, because Tobago is a beautiful place. We just have to open it and plan properly. That's all we need to do.
We saw quite recently the opening, and that's through your colleague in terms of infrastructure. And I know you would have been a part of that, the King Peter's
Bay Hill.
Yes, initiative. Tell us a little bit about that, that experience in particular, and those are the kind of projections that you're speaking to. We're trying to really make that change. We heard residents speak to how much, this is something they didn't even anticipate.
Of course. You see, Julian, when I started campaigning in November 2020, it was the first time that I went to King Peter Bay Hill. And I mean, me and my team, my wife and the rest of the team went there, and it was like, people living up there, they say, yeah, we'll go up. And we had to walk, we had to stop, we had to sit down, we had to blow, 192 steps. And when you go up there and see that persons have to traverse that up and down, imagine you as a child and having to go down to the shop to the bottom of the hill. There was one instance where one of my constituents died because she was ailing and she fell sick the night. Her husband had to put her in a wheelbarrow. When he met to the top of the step, he had to lift her. By the time he lifted her in her arms, she was dead by the time she reached down to the bottom of the step, because the ambulance couldn't go up. And I made that promise in 2020, that I came, I saw, and I will deliver. And I advocated to the Chief Secretary and Secretary James. And today, persons could drive right to their door. And that is what development done, because they have had those steps over 60 years. But that is what about representation. You must hold your poise. My word is my bond. That is how I was brought up. And if I cannot do it, I will come back and say I cannot do it. But I'm glad that the Chief Secretary and the Executive Council did approve it. And now the people of Bay Hill are much happier than they were. As the Jamaicans say, when mongoose used to run, car drive there now.
As you speak Jamaica again, tell us a little bit. We know that within Jamaica there are rural, communities and so on. Similarly, would there have been any learnings coming out of that? Would that have formed part of your trip in terms of exposure in those areas as well?
Of course it did. But Julian, some of the things, what we would call houses, I mean, we are in a good place in Tobago, trust me. I went through some places in Jamaica and you wouldn't believe the condition, the dilapidated condition. Persons on the beatum that we look down on, sometimes their homes look better than those that we went through. There was one area that, if you go through my social media profile, you'll see police and army patrolling with me. They will sweep every house before I go into it, because the area was surrounded by 5 gangs. And I mean, we were just going out to visit, and next thing I saw these soldiers and these army as well. Why are these guys here? They said, no, the director of Mr. Martin Miller, the director of NHT, he instructed them that we be escorted. And every parish we left, they will end at their jurisdiction, and the next platoon will take us up. But what we have here, we don't have poverty as I've seen in some of these places, trust me.
So what are some of the policies you're thinking coming out of those visits, particularly with rural communities, that you suspect we might be able to or intend to adopt here as the THA?
Well, Julian, it's about just going out there and getting to the persons who really need the help. Some persons, I don't send my division out. I go out with them. And you go to places and you see 2 families using 1 outhouse, and the outhouse is leaning. I mean, that is not the way that we're supposed to, without so much money that we have to have persons living. So we are hoping that we could eradicate the outhouse program in 2023, so provide in-house plumbing for most persons, but going out there and find the persons who really, really need the help. Sometimes it's not much, and what we want to do is revitalize the Lenhan model, where persons put sweat equity, bring back the community to go out and assist persons. It must not just be that the government has to come and do this. No, it does not. We as the people have to say that, okay, hey, that is my neighbor. If I fall sick, that is the first person that will come to my aid. So we have to go out there and at least assist them. So we are starting that in my electoral district, and I know it will be replicated throughout the entire Tobago by my colleagues. And that is what is needed for today, because of the cost of labor is so high. If you can afford to pay, you can pay. But what about those who cannot? So it's something that we must revitalize and bring assistance to the persons who are in need.
All right. Tell us, as we speak to the Rural Development Unit, what are some of the priority projects that have been identified looking at this coming year for the Rural Development Unit under its new mandate?
Well, I haven't sat, because as you know, in the division, Secretary George is in control of that. I don't try to micromanage. So sometimes when he have meeting, I will sit in, or sometimes, he keep me updated. But I know one of the things that they're really looking at is really opening up the housing developments, like I spoke about earlier, in different communities. I know that is one of their mandates, and the nature trails and stuff like that. Just opening up the northern and eastern end of Tobago. Putting the necessary lighting. We want to do solar lighting around these areas. So I know these are some of the things they are planning. Probably we have a meeting today. We could flush out or before the year, so we could have all the policies that we intend to implement in 2023.
So what we'll definitely see is a closer working with the tourism sector, as you say,
and the agriculture sector,
yes, and some of those areas.
Even with the Division of Infrastructure, because Secretary James is about mapping and networking new roads. So they'll be working along with, because we have persons with technical competencies could work along with Secretary James and his team. So it's all a cohesive unit that we have in the rural unit and the assemblymen, the various divisions. So just work together to make sure that they could develop Tobago to make Tobago a better place.
All right. One of the other areas under your focus as Secretary and by extension Assistant Secretary is public utilities. We know we heard Assistant Secretary George alluding to some challenges. Have those been rectified, or are you still moving forward notwithstanding the challenges faced in relation to the matter of public utilities and being able to have that direct kind of connection with the THA?
Julian, nothing will stand in my way. Before I pray every morning, I ask God to send St. Michael the Archangel to go before me, move everything from in my way. So the level of disrespect we saw last month from the Minister of Public Utilities of inviting Secretary George on Friday afternoon and uninviting him on Saturday afternoon. I know the Chief Secretary said he was going to write the Prime Minister about it, because they cannot, when it was the People's Partnership Government, they were hue and cry about disrespect. And then you allow that to come and happen. So I think the Chief Secretary is writing the Prime Minister about having that disrespect discontinued. But that is not going to stop us from delivering to the people. If you, we are just the line secretary. I have never had any conversation with Mr. Marvin Gonzalez since I've taken office. I don't know if Secretary George has. I know he has been clamoring for a meeting, but I allow him to operate the units that he's in charge of. But nothing is going to stop coming my way or the division way to deliver to the people of Tobago. Plain and simple.
Given the THA's responsibility for that level of oversight for public utilities, therefore, what new improvements can we expect to see coming from public utility providers in the new year? Where is your focus as the division and by extension the THA?
Well, we have a $3 million in our vote, and what we wanted to do was provide electrification to places that doesn't have electricity. And even places that have poles and no lamps, we wanted to see if we could get the releases. We have applied for the releases from finance to see if these lamps could be replaced and new lamps be put in, but it's about bringing some kind of hope to the persons who live in places that don't have electricity, because I've been getting calls from persons in Cow Farm Road, I think in Goodwood, somewhere up there, that, you know, one lady couldn't have her child go to school because electricity is about 400 feet from her home. So she couldn't get access to have internet. And so these are the places, the rural areas that we're looking to put electricity. We are trying to use all the money so that we could provide electrification to places that really need it.
All right. Tell us, Secretary, when you look at the very broad perspective, it is clear the kind of funding that might be needed to drive and move things in a particular direction, based on the plans and projection, may not necessarily be readily available. How do you anticipate to be able to, you know, cover some of these areas based on that projection to be able to deliver to the people of Tobago? Because certainly, as you made it clear before, independents cannot rely exclusively on the transfers or what we expect to get through the national budget on an annual basis.
Well, Julian, and to the listening audience, you know, as I said if this year was a learning curve, and you know we went into the financial year starting first quarter completed, and when you get to learn the system, one thing I intend to do, and I told my administrator yesterday and my whole senior staff, we were afforded $27.5 million this year in our development. I'm trying to spend every cent before the 31st of May. Last year, we had over $500,000 going back into unexpended balances. That will not happen in this new financial year. Because that's how the central government, if they see they give you 10 cents, and at the media review, you still have 7 cents, why would I want to give you an increase? And there are places that you could use this money up. So we're going to find ways that we're going to use the money up that will benefit Tobagonians, but we're not going to sit on money. We're not going to sit on release. As you said, that I have to call Director of Finance today, because we have applied for releases and we haven't gotten them as yet, but I want the money as quickly as possible so I could provide the services to the people. So it's not about keeping money until the end of financial year, but it's to utilize. I hope I could use up all 27.5 million before the 31st of May.
Remind us, Secretary, because your division is also one where people rely on receiving grants and assistance with regards to their homes. You mentioned the outhouse. Let's remind us about a few of those initiatives that are accessible to the persons of Tobago. Because, you know, sometimes people raise the issue. You only hear about these things extensively at election time. Is that going to be the case in your tenure as Secretary, or is this is something that persons will be able to access and receive year-round in terms of grants and distribution?
Yes, Julian, and this is why this year was the biggest grant distribution ever done by the Any Settlements Division of $10 million. Because when I went there were persons waiting on second tranches 2-3 years for their second tranches. And we was able to get the funding from the Executive Council approval. We got the funding of the 10 million, clear that backlog up. And I've been trying to tell persons, we want to bring it to a 21-day period before you get your first check. 21 days. We need a number of more staff out in the field to gather the information. But the grants, I tell people, come and apply. Those who are in need, because there are some people in want. Because some of the things that you see, some persons, those was given grants in the other dispensation, clearly, and they were flagged by not just what I saw, but flagged by the Auditor General or by the internal audit, that the persons who really need does not get the grant, but those who want were given these grants. And this is what we want to eliminate. Those who are in need, to really give them the opportunity to get the grant. But we are open for business. Come in, do what you have to do. One thing I could tell you is when you have to return your bills to the public, make copies of your bills, because sometimes things go missing down in the division. You return your bills, you cannot find the bills in order to go on to your second tranche. Make sure that in case that happens, that you could now bring this duplicate and have the process going through. Because once you return your bills, you can have the access to the second tranche. But we are trying to get as much grants out of the way as possible and provide service. Because like today, earlier in the year, I took the initiative to give Mr. Rennie Kwao a house, because I know the living condition of his parents, his mother and stuff like that. And I'm pleased to say by this week she'll be going into a brand new home at the Adventure for Christmas. Because this is what I'm here to do, to provide service to the people. It's not about political parties or friends and family. It's about providing this service to the people. And that is what I intend to do for the people of Tobago. I'm not in this forever, and I don't want to be in it forever. But when I leave, I must say that I have done my part to make Tobago a better place.
All right. As we prepare to wrap this morning, Secretary, we want to get a sense from you. Is there any other, that you would want to share with the people of Tobago, in these final few seconds?
Well, as I say it as my road march is that for the persons who have application in for homes or houses, is to make sure that you go and you update get your pre-qualification from your financial institution. You update your files at the division. The 3 developments that are coming on stream is at Venture in Plymouth, at Delphine Masonol, and Shervan. So you have to be registered in one of these places in order to be selected. There's a misconception going on, Julian, where persons probably don't listen when we advertise or put out the news that if you apply for a house in a housing development, and that has come to completion, it is not an automatic rollover. And persons have that mindset that since they applied 2012, the name haven't been called. If you don't update your files to the ongoing or the upcoming development, you will not be in the selection. So a lot of persons are not listening, are not hearing what we are saying, but I'm begging persons to go out and update your files and check to make sure that you could pre-qualify for the homes that will come on board. And I think that we are doing from the division that we have to, Julian, before we go about the Jamaican model, is about branding. Branding takes you a long way. Like the name of their program is HOPE, Housing Opportunity Providing Employment. It gives you that kind of spirit that could uplift you when you hear the name. You know what people say in Tobago? Settlements getting a house in Jordan, so I'll put my name down. There's nothing that could energize you, that give you that kind of hope, that give you that kind of thing. And some things that we are looking to do in the division is that, what I met is that workers in the division, some of them might have put their name down for homes, but we're going to put a special category for employees of the division. So when there's a housing draw for land, persons within the division will be drawn. You cannot be working in a system and not be benefiting from the system. So the staff at my division, not because your name is in the system, you still have to make sure that you qualify, pre-qualify to afford these homes when they come on stream. So I'm encouraging everybody to be part of the system. Let us go together. A rising tide lifts all ships, not some. So I want the people at the division to be beneficiary of the program.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Assemblyman Ian Pollard, speaking to that commitment. And I know he has certainly gotten the ears and the attention of many, because as he rightfully said, very early in the mix, it is the dream of the average person here residing in Tobago by virtue of the way that we have grown up and that we have come up to seek to own something, whether it's a piece of land, to own a home, etc. And note very carefully the reminders that came at the end to update your records, ensure that your records are updated at the Division of Settlement, Public Utilities and Rural Development, and that's located in Crown Point. All right, so feel free to make sure that you check with the office to ensure that person that in the first instance, you even have a chance and that you're going to be in the selection that's going to happen in terms of going forward. And then certainly you have to make sure that your business is in order in relation to your financial goals, objectives, and having the necessary stuff and information in place. So we want to thank you very much again, Assemblyman Ian Pollard, for joining us on set here this morning at the Tobago Updates Morning Show. The viewers, as we continue to thank you, each and every one of you connecting with us online. I see Janelle in the mix, Denise, Dawn Dempster, Julia Brown, Lyndon, Marilyn, all right, QK Melville, Lisa James. Folks, we want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to connect with us here on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And coming up next, we see on screen, we have Miss Abini Taylor, and we look forward to the discussions with Abini. Maximizing my 24 hours. In fact, Abini makes it look like you have 48 in one day. All right, so we look forward to those upcoming discussions with Abini Taylor. And viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support, and to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
It's a different type of thing down there, and we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there, down in Tobago.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorns Place with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorns Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Welcome to La Marche Parfait Day Spa and Wellness Center, your premier spa experience located at Bonaccord, Tobago. Visit us today for facials, cellulite treatments, body contours, body treatments, pedicures, manicures, and much more. We have gift cards for all occasions and corporate events. Connect with us on Facebook at La Marche Parfait Day Spa or call us 273-7772.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up and look, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up and look. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, morning. Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. Beautiful view out there showing, the port of Scarborough out there as we enjoy what we have here in our Tobago space. Viewers, in this segment, we are speaking with Abini Taylor. Should I say Senorita Abini Taylor? I hope I got the roll on the tongue appropriately this morning. Educator and CEO of School of Foreign Language. Good morning to you.
Buenos dias, bonjour, good morning.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
Before we even dive in, Abini, I want you to tell us a little bit. In that Christmas season, how is that for you? How has that been going?
Well, Christmas is my favorite holiday. So this year I'm not even going all out, but just feeling the atmosphere of shopping and the atmosphere of getting the house ready and painting, because everybody knows my mom, Joan Williams Taylor, aka Darky, painting had to go on this morning. So I told her when I return home from the interview, I will assist in that capacity. You know, I just love the atmosphere I feel. The nights getting colder, the days a little hotter. However, I love the Christmas spirit. Even though I may not be doing too much this year because of fatigue, I am just all out for what Christmas has to offer this year.
Rhea Richardson, George, and to all the ladies, Abini started by saying shopping. Gentlemen, we understand what that means. All right. So as we get into the conversation today, we're speaking about maximizing my 24 hours. And I want you to tell us, give us an idea of the genesis of this upcoming event and initiative.
Okay, awesome. So people always inbox me, Abini, how do you do it? How do you balance? How do you do so many things and you do it so well? It's actually my last interview here when I came with my netballers. Someone would have tagged me in a post on Facebook and said, a course to be taught by Abini Taylor maximizing my 24 hours because I do not know how you do it. So the idea, a bulb went up in my head for that idea. So it's really this event is really carried to assist persons to balance their time wisely, utilize those 24 hours that God Jehovah has given to you, because we all have the same 24 hours. We can get our stuff done. We just need to guide some people. So it wouldn't be myself only as one of the speakers at the event. It will be Danielle Smith. She's the owner of Tobago Cosmetics, Jazz Artistry, and she has so many accolades to her name, Vanya or Ronaldo John. So we wanted to use local person so it can seem as though, yes, it's actually attainable. We can relate to some of these people. So I know it actually is possible for me to utilize my 24 hours wisely and, of course, to bear proper fruit. Yes? And we wanted to make it a bit more, more attractive. So it's an all-inclusive event. It's an all-inclusive event serving, of course, food and drinks from the Gourmet Peckish 868 and from the President's Choice, run by Rondell Moses. And it's at the Healing Garden. So we wanted that sort of intimate atmosphere. However, you are there to receive content that could help you maximize your 24 hours. How to prioritize things in our lives, because we all have so many things to be done. Whether you are a mother, you're a father, you're a family person, you have several businesses, you have a corporate job, plus you have your side hustle. How to utilize our 24 hours to be able to benefit in every aspect of our life. How to do that. So that is what the event is really focused on. And of course, we have the spiritual background that we're going to use to ensure, because without that spiritual background, you really can't have everything done well.
Tell us, when is the event carded for time? I know you said the venue is at the Healing
Garden. It is.
When is this experience going to take place?
It is on Thursday, the 29th of December, which is next Thursday. It starts at 7 p.m. As I said, it's a more intimate vibe. You come, you socialize. And there's a package actually. So when you come to the door, you receive your customized notepad, your pen, your pencil, your keyring. And there are some devotional and spiritual books that will be on sale. And they are very optional. But it is a full package. Food, drinks inclusive, cocktails, mocktails. And just the whole vibe of receiving information on how to utilize your 24 hours. It's for men and women, not only for women.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about the cost associated with the packages and so.
Right. So the ticket, it costs $300, and the tickets are available at the foreign language bookstore in Canby, or they can be delivered to you. There is also the payment plans if you want to pay down on your ticket, and then you complete payment before the event or the morning of the event to secure your spots.
Right. I want you started by giving us an idea, but I want to chat a little bit about the persons involved in the mix. Of course, I have to start with Ronaldo John.
Yeah.
That's one of our sponsors on board here.
Oh, yes.
At Tobago Updates. Tell us a little bit about your choice in terms of selecting the men and women in the mix based on, what is their broader involvement and so on, commitment to community.
Apart from them being my colleagues, they would have started their journeys quite young, and they have several hats that they wear. So I wanted persons who actually can attest to the balancing aspect of it, how to utilize your 24 hours. So I didn't want it to be too off balance by only having females. So I said, who can I think? I said, RJ. So I gave him a call, and then he didn't even hesitate to say, sure, I would come to share tips and to guide persons on how to maximize those 24 hours. Same thing with Dana, because Dana, apart from being a CEO of Jazz Artistry and Tobago Cosmetics, she's also a part-time lecturer. She's a full-time secondary school teacher, and she does everything so well, and she puts, according to Burna Boy, her life into her job. So, I wanted persons like that, persons who have a personality that can gravitate people and can pull persons into believing that they actually utilize their 24 hours. Same thing with Miss Vanya. Oh, she's a corporate worker. She's a mother. She's a business owner. She still socializes, have a social life sort of. So I wanted persons like that. So when I was sifting through, I said, wait, I could use these. And they're young. So, and they're from Tobago. So you would feel as though, yes, it's attainable. I could actually get this done. So you know what? I go in that event.
I want to chat with you, and I believe this is something I've always commended you on. That transition for persons in terms of when I qualify myself, it's not just simply about settling for a job, but looking at how I can utilize and develop, that skill set to do more in the Tobago space. Tell us, very quickly in terms of, how you feel at this time about really putting that knowledge to use and moving from the point of Abini Taylor qualified to be an educator, and Abini Taylor now, educator, CEO, School of Foreign Language, really going well beyond the basic expectation.
Well, sometimes I don't even know how it happens, eh? It's just that idea is going to come to you. I pray a lot. I have to say that. I pray a lot. I literally ask God for all the guidance I can get. I put him first. I commit everything to him. And then things are just revealed to me. So to answer that question, it's just that. And what I also notice as well, you don't have to start something perfectly, just start. Perfection is going to come. Growth is going to come. I don't ever have a strict business plan or a strict plan in my head. It's just like, you know what, Abini, start and see where you can develop and see what other branches may open. So that is what I do, because I am bachelor's in Spanish, I do French, but my master's is public sector management. I never did accounts and everything, so manage a business. I never did entrepreneurship. So it's just like just starting, and you're going to learn along the way, and then you will see how filling that niche is going to become part of you. And I always tell my friends, mind your business, and your business can mind you. Always.
Indeed. Very good advice coming out there, our viewers. I mean, tell us as well about the importance of being able to surround yourself, and let's start in the context with that level of family support. Shout out this morning to Miss Darky out there. That the importance of family support in terms of this kind of drive and movement in this direction to attain any level of success.
I have seen for myself that no man is an island. No matter how independent you think you are, you always need help. As simple as, Mom, you can prepare breakfast for me because I'm rushing to go on Tobago updates. So I will eat in the car. Something as simple as just filling some aspect of your day. Trust and believe, it is paramount. I have friends, if I have to run to Trinidad tomorrow, I have a friend working in the port. I say, can you purchase my ticket for me, please, and drop it off? I would reimburse. So trust me, no man is an island. No matter how independent you are, you need assistance in some part of your life in order to function effectively and efficiently.
How important is it as well for you, Abini, in terms of surrounding yourself with persons of like minds? You know, we operate in a world where it is, and I've made the comment before, sadly, some are only happy for you until they start to believe you're doing better than them. How important is it for you to surround yourself with persons that you can encourage as well as those who can encourage you?
Well, sometimes you would believe that the persons around you are for you. So if that's the image or the energy they are giving to you, you just continue doing it. It's just like the friends I have are very few, and most are from when we were in primary school, so we grew together. Some persons would have peeled off, yes, but the importance of having supportive friends and family members, wow. I am spiritual, so if I know you're not for me, best believe I've seen that in a dream. Best believe. So for me, I can attest to that. So if I dream you in a way, I'm all right with you. So that's the truth for me. But it's very important to have genuine and motivational and friends who are very spiritual, because sometimes you get caught up in carnality. So friends who could say, Abini, you really have to do that, boy. Think about the repercussions of this, that is like, oh gosh, stop making me feel guilty, stop convicting me. But yes, it's very important to have supportive friends, friends who have blinders on their eyes and are very focused, but still would have a little bit of social life and interact with everybody. But being focused on having focused friends, extremely important.
For those who don't know you and they're thinking, oh, she's talking about maximizing her 24 hours. She's probably all work and no play. Oh, no. Tell us a little bit about the reality of having a social life in the mix.
All work and no play will make Abini a very dull girl. Well, I'm a lady. But yes, I believe in prioritizing. Start your things. Do what you have to do first, and then the play will come eventually. Because oh my gosh, life in itself is already challenging. Life is hard. Can make you feel as though, oh my God, what am I really doing with my life? So I tend to prioritize the things I have to get done, and then I have to play. I have to enjoy it. I have to socialize. Whether it be go to dinner with friends, go to a concert, do something that will make you happy. Read your novels, binge watch some series on Netflix. Because I love Netflix. So people are like, oh, you get time for that? I say I might watch Netflix by marking papers, and I still enjoy it. You know? So it's all about balancing, it's all about prioritizing and still enjoying it. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. You need to enjoy it, man. Come on.
So folks, we're getting a sneak peek here into what's going to be happening at this event, talking about maximizing your 24 hours. And Abini, I just want you to remind persons, when is the event carded for? Where is it taking place? the cost as well as where they can get tickets.
Okay. It is next Thursday, the 29th of December, 2022. It is at the Healing Garden located in Mount Pleasant, Tobago. The cost of a ticket is $300. It's an all-inclusive event, gourmet finger foods along with cocktails and mocktails. And tickets are available at the foreign language book. So if you call the number 735-0060, tickets can be delivered straight to you.
Remind them of that number.
735-0060.
Right, excellent. In your final 30 seconds, why is this a must-attend all-inclusive event?
Because we want to effectively prepare you for 2023 in almost every aspect of your life. So when you are faced with certain challenges, you know what to do in order to conquer them and continue living your life effectively and efficiently and making the best of your 24 hours.
And she got some secrets coming out, I'll give you all one. She also finds time to offer herself in service for the credit union movement. So trust me, she knows about maximizing that 24 hours. Thank you so much, Abini Taylor, for joining us on set here this morning. Yes, folks, we've been chatting with Abini Taylor, educator and CEO, School of Foreign Language, and more. All right, folks, and we've been chatting specifically about maximizing your 24 hours, and this is upcoming next week, Thursday. This is your opportunity to get some insight into the life of Abini Taylor and a number of others in the Tobago space here who we grew up with in our various communities, went to school with, probably see them in our day-to-day interactions and so on. Get an opportunity to hear some of the tips and tricks that they utilize to ensure that they maximize, and therefore you can have certainly they get the knowledge and the benefit of that information from the upcoming Maximizing Your 24 Hours. And who knows, based on the success of this initiative next week, Thursday, she may have to turn it into a series with others who want to become a part of this initiative to really share, to really experience, and so that others can also benefit as we seek to move forward here within Tobago. All right, viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support, each and every one of you continuing to join us. Let me just very quickly, in terms of head over to the live this morning. I see we have connecting with us. Heather Cook is on with us, our very own Candice Jackson, Dr. Faith, Yolanda, Donil, Sharon, Winston in the mix this morning with us. We want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to connect with us. Mrs. Charles out there, I know she's usually out in the garden doing her gardening and so on, tuned into us. Crystal, Washington, Tom, thank you so much to each and every one of you. Folks, it's the Christmas season. And, you know, as you get in and around the mix and you are preparing and doing all that you have to do, I don't want us to forget at all the reason for the season, most importantly. So have your celebrations, put all the plans in place as you prepare to celebrate with family and friends. Yes, folks, it's been a while. It's been a while. Probably since about 2019, we've had this kind of Christmas that we are looking forward to here in 2022. And let's really continue to focus on the reason for the season as we prepare and head on in to the new year. All right, and we see on screen, and she's going to be coming up on GMT. All right, we have Natisha Charles Pantin, Assemblyman Natisha Charles Pantin, as Secretary with the responsibility for the Division of Food Production, and we're going to be speaking to areas of agriculture. She seeks to bring some clarity in terms of some of the current matters here within the Tobago space. So you can look forward to those discussions coming up with Assemblyman Natisha Charles Pantin coming up with you on GMT. All right, folks, so we thank you very much for the continued love and support. Rhea Richardson George, keep safe out there. All right, viewers, tomorrow we'll also be heading into Youth Wednesday. So we're saying bye for now from the Tobago Updates morning show, but stay tuned. We're heading straight over to GMT with Chanel.
Class party, not a problem. Instead, Goodwood Secondary School opted for a non-traditional celebration. The institution hosted its first annual Brunch in the Woods, a picnic affair
Brunch is the Woods is a picnic affair where it's like our end of term class party, but we're going on a larger scale. So it's a picnic affair where we bring everything out in the open, we celebrate under the sun, we eat, we drink, we have entertainment by our very own kings and queens of Goodwood Secondary School, and it's an opportunity for us to have all the stakeholders on the compound with us and just celebrate.
Secretary of the Division of Education, Research and Technology, Zoisha Hackett, thoroughly enjoyed this unique event. She even had the opportunity to learn.
I just want to comment on how creative an event like this is. I mean, coming to the end of an academic year, an academic term at that, where we've had so many challenges just getting back into the what we call regular curriculum. When you see events like this, you're very, very impressed by the fact that a school has been able to use nature, right, and the balance of the natural environment and bring that as a part of the curriculum and have students so immersed in this educational experience.
Past and present students were happy to be part of an event like this.
It was a very good idea. It is going really, really nice. It turned out better than I expected. It was executed nicely.
I think the brunch was well executed. It's been a long time since we had an event, a school event, and I was looking forward to it. And the expectations was high, and they succeeded. It was a success.
Well, it's the same thing for me. I think that it was one of the best ideas Goodwood ever put forward to. And I think everything is looking amazing, and it could happen many more times again.
The initiative is a good initiative. It shows that there's a lot of camaraderie going on within the schools, alongside when we got invited to work alongside with Miss Maslin. I was happy to get on board because we always dreamt of coming back to the school to actually do something for the school. So I'm glad Miss here. So we know we're seeing this going a lot further than here today.
Brunch in the Woods, a picnic affair, was held on the school's compound in Goodwood. I'm Marlon Gottsliben for Let's Talk Tobago.
Hey, Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denasia.
Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong.
Good morning, Tobago. Welcome this morning to our wider global viewing audience. You know, it's always exciting when we're here on GMT on a Tuesday and Thursday because we're always going to get into the things. We're always going to have some really interesting conversations. And this morning, we're kind of having a follow-up conversation from one that began last week, Thursday. If you remember last week, Thursday, during my time here on GMT, I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Roland Murray, who is the president of the Goldsboro Farmers Association, and Mr. Tyrone Moses, who is also the coordinator, I believe, or the director of the Agriculture Society. So they would have spoken about what is happening at TADCO, and they gave their comments and their reviews of the Food Box Initiative. Now, in addition to that, we had the CEO for TADCO, Mr. Ricardo Alfred, and Mr. Irwin Dillon, who came on afterwards and kind of cleared the air on what was said earlier. And to continue that conversation and bring about a higher level of clarity regarding what's happening at TADCO and what's happening at the Division of Agriculture at this time. This morning, I have the privilege of joining me this morning, a lady here in red, looking very festive. We're happy to have you. Good morning. This morning, we have Assemblyman Natisha Charles Panton, who is also the Secretary for the Division of Agriculture, Food Security, Natural Resources, and the Environment. I hope I got that right, because you know that's a whole mouthful, right? It's one of those. And sustainability. Sustainability. I can't forget the sustainability. So this morning, as I said before, we're talking TADCO. We're talking about engaging Tobago farmers. Now, there has been a lot of conversation in this space about who is getting preference within this current administration. And I believe that from the conversation I had here last week with the CEO of TADCO, that TADCO's initiatives are really geared towards, you know, truly building capacity within Tobago farmers. But then there's the other hand of that conversation where Tobago farmers are often questioning whether or not they are being given priority over farmers in Trinidad. And this morning, to speak a little bit on that, we have the secretary herself, so she's going to be telling us a lot more about that and hopefully giving us the clarity that we need. Good morning, Mrs. Pantin.
Good morning, Tobago. Good morning to everyone on Facebook and all the media houses. Good morning.
We are happy to have you, right? And here at GMT, you know, we have no fear when it comes to asking questions. I like to think that we ask the questions that the people want to know. And so to even start off, let us know, now it's the Christmas season, I know people are getting a bit relaxed, but what are you guys doing over there at the division during this time?
Well, at the division, we're sort of, you know, preparing for the new year, looking at, you know, clearing expenses, doing regular activities, finalizing projects, stuff like that. So, you know, we are keeping busy. And of course, the secretary is also busy with a lot of children's events, and, you know, because of the season. So, yeah, we're keeping busy.
Excellent. And so I heard that you had a party this weekend going, actually.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, the Bagatelle Bacalet children's party that ended up being a Tobago children's party.
Okay, all right.
Because of the numbers that came out.
Okay, so how was it exactly organized? Is it that only the members from the district were supposed to attend, and everybody in Tobago just knows there's a Christmas party today, and this one called a cousin from down Crown Point, and that cousin called somebody from Women's Say, let me pass through Natasha's Christmas party this weekend?
Well, each assemblyman would have kept a Christmas party. If they haven't done so, they will do so this week.
Okay.
So even though we kept parties, individual parties for our constituencies, we still embraced children outside of the constituency because we have a responsibility to serve. And it doesn't matter what district you're from, we still have to serve you because you are from Tobago.
Excellent. And as we are talking about, you know, this Christmas season and what is being done at this time, you guys had the food box initiative. Tell us a little bit about, because that's a big bulk of our conversation this morning as we follow up on that conversation that we had last week, right? We had a bit of clarity coming there, but there's no greater clarity than the clarity from the woman herself. So tell us about the food box initiative.
All right. So the idea was to support, give additional support to needy persons. That is the idea. And also to focus on health and the nutritional needs. So you wouldn't see traditional sugar and flour. And I'm not saying that, you know, these are not things, you know, on the market and shouldn't be on the market. But we're trying to focus on healthier foods. And this coming out from not only my experiences, but I have had a lot of experiences. I've had families that would have died from, you know, non-communicable diseases, right? And you know, a lot of the persons in the space, responsible, you know, health officials, persons clamoring for more healthier options, especially for the elderly. So the focus was to provide additional support to the needy, right? So it is a pilot project. So it's not something that will not be reviewed. So it, you know, so the program will be reviewed, or the project would be reviewed.
Okay, is this initiative of the current administration, or was this something that you came in and met in place?
I think there's a little bit of, you know, right, I'll bring some clarity. I remember there was an initiative during an election period or during the COVID period. So I'm not sure about, you know, I think it was under NAMDEFCO, right? But this is something totally different. As I said, the Food Box Initiative is just, you know, provide additional support to needy persons in the community. It would run hopefully for 1 year, and then it will be reviewed based on the information gathered in the field, right? So that is basically what the Food Box Initiative was about.
Okay. And during the last Monday, you were one of those individuals who had one of those lengthier presentations, because you had a number of things to discuss. How has this year been for you running the division, and what are some of the key achievements you would say that stand out to you most of everything that you guys did? What were some of your key achievements, you would say?
Well, being one of the largest divisions under the Tobago House of Assembly, you know, and let me clarify. So it's the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development. And we would have started out the year, you know, basically meeting with consultants like Dr. Vanus James and other consultants in the space. We would have sat down with the experts. We would have held several meetings with farmers, you know, inviting a lot of stakeholders. And that's the responsibility of the technical officers. They understand process. They understand that they need to go out, gather the information, and make informed decisions. And we did all of that at the beginning of the year. And several developmental pillars surfaced: production, agro-processing, marketing and research, and agro-tourism or agro-ecotourism. And based on these developmental pillars, we would have rolled out several initiatives. And, you know, we tried to you know, spread the resources among different stakeholders, right? We don't have indefinite amount of money, right? But we wanted to touch the lives of everyone equally across the space. So persons in Pig Farm Road in Goldsboro, they would have started to roll out the lights in that area. Persons who would have been clamoring for water for years in places like Corland and other estates, we would have paid $8 billion for the infrastructure. So hopefully WASA would soon roll out that initiative. So we would have done our end. The palliative air fish facility, we began construction on that. So most of the facilities need repair. We can't repair all based on what we got in terms of releases. We would have executed a number of projects partnering with the food and agricultural organizations, such as the Bamboo Shade House project, the banana project where they intercrop banana and sweet potatoes, and we're about to do their livestock project where they're going to do embryo transfer. So we would have executed a number of things, the Shore Park Food Hub, and all these things would fall under the developmental pillars that I mentioned earlier. A lot of the stations, such as the Studley Park Station, the Bloody Bay Orientation Center, the Main Ridge Phase 1, that's completed. The repairing animal pens across state farms. We would have paid the mobilization and some work began. The Barbados Fish Facility, we're about to repair that. So we would have done about full purchased equipment, which, you know, we'd have to get some of the implements still for some of the tractors. And, you know, we're trying to revamp that whole tractor pool system. So that's ongoing as money comes in. So we would have done a lot in terms of
things.
Yes.
What do you think you have done, though, out of all those initiatives that have contributed to you transforming the agriculture sector on the island?
All right. So I want to point out that the division's mandate or what we have been doing under the division, we have a responsibility to each and every farmer, fisherman, right? And not just one person, right? So any initiative that under the division, we provide general support, incentives, you know, all this, everything that we're doing, all the stakeholders are supposed to have access to it. And that is the role of the division. But when coming to the special purpose companies, right, their goals and objectives would be specific. So I'd take TADCO, since TADCO is making the news so often. TADCO has, you know, it's a separate entity, a registered company on its own. And therefore, they have to identify markets, form partnerships, select those product lines that they would feel that is lucrative, profit-making. So it was designed to make a profit. What is the sense of creating a company and the company doesn't make any profit? Might as well you just, you know, don't have companies and just operate under the division and provide general support. So that is the responsibility of TADCO. And the reason why they have started by building capacity is because the agricultural sector needed to have that. right? So they would have rolled out the poultry contract farm initiative, where they would have partnered with several persons in Trinidad in order for this initiative to be successful, right? So technical advice would come from Trinidad, obviously, because the industry, as I said, agriculture, I always say that agriculture is a science. It's not just about I could plant everything or anything in the field and then just bring it to you. It is a science, right? So they would have built capacity by getting the necessary information, making the necessary partnerships to provide the chicks and the feed for free. And then they're going to enter, well, they have entered into contract farming, where they're going to buy back the chickens from the farmers. And that is, if you receive that food box, that is where the chickens came from, the poultry contract initiative. So, and it's all about food safety and proper, you know, following that entire process. So that is the responsibility of TADCO. So I don't want people to misrepresent me by saying that I am saying to plant what TADCO wants. You can plant what you want. You have a green thumb? We have the home gardening unit under the division. And they work night and day, as you could see on Facebook. And they provide excellent support across the space to all farmers that need it, right? But when coming to the company has a separate mandate to the division, right? The same thing with cassava, for example. If a farmer comes to me and they said, I want to do more, right? I want to get involved in business, then I would give TADCO as an option. You can do it on your own. You will get the necessary support, right? Whatever exists in the system, right? But TADCO, step by step, remember it's what, 11 months so far, 12 months? TADCO would have rolled out several initiatives towards producing alternative flour, producing poultry, and also pork, right? They have gone into pork, and of course, we're going to roll out livestock as well soon, right? So, so that's it. So that's really what I wanted to say. I wanted to clear the air into
no problem. Do you think that the work that has been done by this new administration at the TADCO level is transforming agriculture on the island?
Oh, definitely. We would have brought up an agronomist in order to increase capacity again, to show farmers how they can plant cassava, for example, and make more in terms of a pound, you know, in terms of the pound. So we would have done a lot. They would have taken the farmers to Trinidad, and they've seen how a successful operation is being run. And I believe they are really doing, making an effort to improve this sector. What I encourage them to do, given that you have a lot of noise in this space, that you continue consultation. I believe on Thursday, they're supposed to have another discussion with the farmers to see what their production levels are, right, in the field. So, and I encourage all farmers that call me, reach out to TADCO, right, because they are the entity. And of course, the CEO is Mr. Salazar, Dionisio Salazar. The chairman, Ricardo Alfred, right? He is the chairman of TADCO. So they have offered themselves to the public. You can call them at any time. You can go into the company as well.
But you spoke to some linkages, because you would have talked about agrotourism.
Yes.
Right? Is there any other linkages that you guys are working on or plan to work on in the future?
Oh, definitely. So we would have used the Shore Park Food Hub. That is also a pilot. This is a new idea, and we're looking at how it's operating now, and you know, recommendations would be made in consulting with people to see how to go forward with it, right? The Lower Great River Cocoa Experience, that is a new initiative, and you know, that would have to be you know, tourism. There would have to be a link when the boats come in, the ship, what you call it, I forget the luxury name that you call it when they come in, right? That would have to be coordinated as well, right? And we're going to roll out several other initiatives, agro-ecotourism initiatives in the new year, and it may not only be related to agriculture, it may be related to the environment. For example, the Main Ridge Forest Fitness Challenge, right? We want to promote healthier lifestyles, and including using the natural resources of Tobago and inviting persons into the space to enjoy what the Main Ridge has to offer. And the Main Ridge is the backbone of Tobago. Without the Main Ridge, you wouldn't even have agriculture.
Exactly.
Right? And it's the oldest forest reserve in the Western Hemisphere. So we need to market that some more, right? So a lot of initiatives will be rolled out.
Yeah, during the campaign period before you guys got into office, you spoke extensively about creating links in the agricultural sector,
Yes.
links such as agriculture and education and
Yes.
agriculture and health. Where agriculture and education is concerned, I guess that has to do a lot with nutrition, and then there's the school nutrition program. How do you plan on integrating what is happening in the agriculture sector with the food and nutrition program at the schools and also at the hospitals, just to ensure that farmers have a consistent avenue to provide their stock to the THE?
Excellent question. So we have started that already. The capital of paradise, which recently moved from 11,000 US dollars to bringing in over 40,000 US dollars with every trip. When they bring in the bycatch, because we export the yellowfin tuna, and when the bycatch comes in, the school feeding program is supported, right? So they started there, and hopefully will extend into the hospitals. And of course, when the capital of paradise comes in, we recently brought it in at the port there in Scarborough, and we invited persons to come and have a meal, right? So, you know, it is our way of giving back, right? We see everything as a Tobago initiative, and it's giving back to youth in Tobago.
And how would the Tobago farmers be engaged to
as
provide their crops? How do you plan on engaging the farmers?
Oh, they have also been engaged.
Okay.
And I mean, no, I wouldn't say that we started to do that in this fiscal, because they would have been engaged before. Right. So we're just going to continue that, right? A lot of the projects under the division itself, just like the banana and sweet potato intercropping project that we would have done with FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization. Some of those produce feed into the system as well. So we're just going to continue that, right? And of course, we're going to continue supporting farmers in terms of the plant tissue culture. They supply planting stock to the general public and to farmers.
And it's the holiday season. People are doing a lot of shopping, patronizing most of the bigger supermarkets. But there are a number of products being offered by TADCO.
Yes.
What is being done by TADCO at this time to encourage buying local?
All right, but we have been encouraging buying local all the time. So not only for the Christmas season, but of course I'm hoping that they be
there's the chicken, the pork, the turkey.
Yes, I'm hoping that
the tables are gonna be full. So what percentage of a person's Christmas lunch or dinner table do we want to be indigenous Tobago products, and what are we doing to promote that type of thing?
Well, I'm hoping that, you know, the cassava bread, the cassava mash, the chicken, the pork, all these things we have, the cassava ice cream, the cassava fruit cake. I am hoping that people go there and they purchase, because I purchase all the time. And, you know, not only what TADCO has, because the agro-processors at the food hub, I've bought, well, I advertise everything I buy. So I buy the puncha creme, I buy the local wines, I go there and support, because I want the majority of what Mrs. Pantini anyway comes from, you know, from Tobago.
But there is already a culture of how people shop for Christmas. So how do we infiltrate that culture to encourage people to buy from TADCO? And secondly, does TADCO have the capacity to truly provide, if the entire Tobago was to say, okay, we're buying our turkey from TADCO, we're buying our pork, and
you know,
what is the capacity of TADCO?
That's an excellent question. Now, recently I went to Queen's Hall. They had a Christmas joy there. And we took wine, dasheen wine, you know, fruit cake, different types of wines there. And Trinidadians enjoyed our products. And resulting from that, thousands of orders just for the fruit cake and the wines. Right? TADCO had to meet that order, right? Now, as I tend to tell people, we cannot just focus on our market here. We have to become brand ambassadors, so we have to sample what we have here and in order to sell it. And we have to appreciate the talents of our people in order to sell it. But when it gets out there into the market and the thousands that we have in orders, like recently I heard they got an order for 2,000 fruit cake, right, in Trinidad. Right? So it's all about building capacity. We need to have our processing done here in order to meet capacity. And of course, we started at Cove because of the challenges that we're experiencing in the different sites that we would have hoped to use by now. But
do you believe that the lack of a proper processing plant is hindering TADCO from being able to fulfill the level of the demand?
Yes, processing is not processing and meeting the standards in order to penetrate markets would always be an issue. No longer you could just plan something, throw it in a bag and give it to people. You have to move into the another phase of business, right? And that is what TADCO is about, taking you from one level to the other. Should you choose to go that route, right? It's a choice, right?
And what do you think needs to be done to get TADCO up to that level where you can meet the demand and you could create the demand and meet the demand that you create? Right.
So in 1 year, I think they would have done an excellent job building capacity among our people, and of course starting, to do the work at the Cove Eco Industrial Estate, setting up that processing plant to do the alternative flour. So I think we're in the right direction, and hopefully in the new year, once finances permit and we get all the arrangements in place, we should be rolling out into mega farms, right? And all of this groundwork, poultry contract initiative, root tubers, going into different product lines that, the company sees that would be profitable, right? All of this is groundwork for bigger things to come. So I am hoping that, Tobagonians would finally be able to have a contractual arrangement to supply a steady produce to the company, and the company would, assist them in terms of getting, reaching the food safety standards and all these things. So, I mean, it's a step-by-step sort of thing. It is a big attempt towards creating an industry, but I'll tell you something, if we don't do it now, and I'm not going to politicize anything about food, because if we don't do this now, everybody going to suffer. It's not about what color we're wearing, and I'm not going to go down that road or descend into anything like that. We have to get going in terms of industry, because agriculture would be #1 on the table. Food prices going up. I saw someone put the price of a box of chicken, the imported chicken. I mean, come on. Eventually, the food cards that people are going to get, it wouldn't have much value, right? So we need to focus more on agriculture, and that is what we have been doing for the 1 year. And I think we would have done an excellent job. When I say we, the entire team that would have come forward and said, look, I want to contribute to the development of Tobago. I want my children to see that I have been meaningfully contributing. That entire team of people who want to work towards bringing Tobago into the greatest little island on the planet, I want to thank all of you.
Excellent. And guys, before we go any further into this conversation, we have a lot more that we need to discuss. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll jump more into that conversation. See you after the break.
Spread Christmas joy and cheer with a loan from Lambo Credit Union this year. Get 100% financing for shopping, home renovations, furniture and appliances, debt consolidation and much more. Did we mention no payments until the end of January 2023? Get the most flexible repayment periods and the best interest rates around. Call 639-5060 to book your appointment today, or visit us on Facebook or Instagram. Wishing you a happy holiday from Lambo Credit Union. And remember, we are always here for you.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorn's Place, with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorn's Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago update.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. Guys, this morning I'm having an extremely interesting conversation that is a bit of a continuation from a conversation that we began having last week, Thursday. We have Mr. Roland Murray here, as I said before, who's the president of the Goldsboro Farmers Association. And he would have spoken extensively about that Goldsboro processing facility, and that because there is that facility, that the THA should not be engaging external stakeholders or contractors to do the processing of goods such as livestock and other products that come from farmers here in Tobago. You know, he's advocating for the fact that Tobagonians be given priority, Tobago farmers be given priority. And in that conversation, he said that we had the facilities available to do the processing here in Tobago. And so when Mr. Ricardo Alfred, who is the chairman of TADCO, came on, he would have told us that he's inviting the entire media in Tobago to come and take a look at the facility so that we could see exactly what Mr. Roland Murray was talking about. And so on Monday, which is yesterday, Monday the 19th, most of our media personnel here on the island were able to get a visit to the facility. And as they toured the facility, we had Mr. Alfred giving them a little bit of a tour and letting them know what's happening there. So I'm interested to see a little more of what happened there yesterday. Are you ready to see what happened there yesterday?
Sure, no problem.
All right, so we're going to head into the video. And guys, this is what happened during the tour yesterday.
Right, so good morning all. My name is Ricardo Alfred. I am the chairman of the Tobago Agribusiness Development Company. Today we have on my right here, we have Mr. Andre Cowan, who's the deputy chairman of the company. On my immediate left, you have Ms. Bernadette Kwashi. And on the side of him, her, you have Mr. Binley Benjamin, one of our board members. So I want to say thank you for taking up this invitation, really in terms of coming out to hear what this facility is supposed to be. I'm very pleased that you guys were able to come. So in that light of it, I will just get straight to the matter of head. Right, so first we want to really speak to some of the issues that we came as a board back in January when we came and met this building. As a board, we had to have a first meeting where we had to determine the company's assets and what strategic direction they were going as relates to TADCO. This project here, the Goldsboro Processing Facility, would have come aboard from the last administration and the last board. Unfortunately, when we came to the board, there was no documentation as relates to what is happening here. Conversations with the CEO, the processing manager, and the facilities manager, again, there were no documentation that they had. We would have seek to get some more information from the corporate secretary through the office of the chief secretary as to whether they had any outstanding contracts done as relates to this facility. Again, this was unsuccessful. We then tried to reach some of the board members, which they said that to speak to other people. Basically, it was unsuccessful as well. We then alerted our line secretary, Ms. Natisha Charles Pantin, who would have informed the exec council, and then through the office of the chief secretary, they would have instructed us to write to the police. I would have written to Mr. Nurse, at the time he was the ACP in Tobago, the Assistant Commissioner of Police, to help us in terms of finding these missing documents as relates to contracts, the scope of work, if there was any due diligence done to how to determine what the purpose of this building was. Mr. Nurse had forwarded, this was back in March of this year, Mr. Nurse had forwarded this information to the fraud squad in Trinidad. This matter is now before the fraud squad as relates to what is happening in this building. Upon more searching again, we would have discovered that this project would have cost the taxpayers $6.7 million, this entire project. As you can see, this is the one part of the building. As you can see, the roof is sealed, but yet they were going to do some drop ceiling. If you look at the work that was done here, based on the tour that we're going to be doing after, you will see the level of work. There isn't a running pipe or running water, any toilets, anything like that, as relates to this building. We cannot occupy this building because clearly there are some matters happening that we can't address. It's now before the fraud squad. They did contact me and say that they are going to start some investigation or whatever. But I want persons to understand how serious this is. Just to give some more insight. On the 6th of January, we would have celebrated an election as relates to what was happening. So while some was celebrating and some was probably crying or whatever the case may be, there were secret deals happening at that time because there was a site handover on the 7th of December to a contractor. During that period, after finding out all of these things, I want persons to understand how serious this thing is. And this is not a matter where persons of the previous board would say that, that they didn't know. So how things are supposed to happen, at the end of every board meeting, you're supposed to have your minutes. The minutes is confirmed. You have 7, the board secretary at the time would have had 7 days, according to the state manual, performance manual, 7 days in which to produce a minute so other members can peruse. It was supposed to be confirmed. All documents are supposed to go into a sealed cabinet that is supposed to be fireproof so that other persons can have access to this so that they demit office at any time. So there's not a case of handing over. They had a duty of care. They had some duty to ensure that documents are then provided to us so that when persons come, they can access these documents. We are yet to find these documents. We are yet to receive these documents as it relates to what is happening. It's quite fortunate, I would say, that an individual would have said some of the capacities of some of the equipments and what this building was supposed to be with the automatic doors and the commission building. It's quite alarming to us, and I would be writing to the police to investigate this matter, because if persons have information as relates to this building that is missing, clearly there seems to be some sort of alliance or some sort of issue as relates to why persons have these documents that we don't have. It was the first time on that program I actually heard of what the building was supposed to be. Again, we have no documentation as relates to this building, and the matter was back in March. I would have written to the Commissioner, Mr. Nurse, Assistant Commissioner of Police, and I would have hand-delivered this, and it was confirmed that it was taken to the fraud squad. So I want persons to understand we cannot accept or occupy this space until this matter is sorted out. Everything is done in conjunction with our State Council office, through the Office of the Chief Secretary. They would have helped us in terms of drafting all of our letters, all of our MOUs. That is how it is supposed to be done. Right? So today I want you guys to come and tour and see how this project was able to cost taxpayers $6.7 million.
So is it that nothing is going to be forward?
We are, when they are finished whatever they are doing, then our legal counsel will then intervene, and then we will see who the persons are, should any action be taken as we think. Because right now, all we're going to be doing is speculating without any evidence. Right? So this is why the police have to be involved in this matter as relates to what is really happening. So, again, should anybody be found liable, we will be taking the legal actions as regards to that. But it must go through a process as relates to how things are happening. Right? And again, it would have appeared that persons on the outside have access to information in which they would have brought to the media space on the program. I think it was Morning Update on Thursday, where they were reading from some documents. So if these documents are in person's possession, clearly there seemed to be some sort of alliance. I'm not sure if that person was a consultant on the last person, if they were paid, how much they were paid. We are only speculating. But however, we would allow the police to do their due diligence as relates. And then we would take necessary legal actions as to what is happening. Right, so I'm glad you brought that up. So the equipment came, none of the manuals are here. Again, how they bought the equipments, we don't know. We don't know what process they use. The equipments are in Chinese. We are trying to get some of the manuals. We have no manuals, we have no documentation. No documentation as relates to the capacity. Only from when I heard an individual spoke about some said capacity. Yes. Again,
what equipment here?
Huh?
What equipment is here?
What is there? You have some mills, some flour mills, and you have some equipment that is coming. But as relates to the correct name and the correct specifications and that stuff, we have no information on that. Right? It would have appeared that there was a person who was hired as a consultant, the same person was hired as a contractor to bring in the equipment, and the same person was hired to install these such equipments. Again, and training as well. Again, we are just waiting on the documentation to go forward. And I want persons to understand, during my tenure here and during the board tenure here, we have been met with some threats. We have been met with works of witchcraft. I've been met with, it is just so much. But we would not be intimidated by persons. Again, we would not be intimidated by persons. The aim is for the people and for the public and for Tobagonians at whole is to know exactly what is happening here. Again, there was a site handover done on the 7th of December, which is very strange to me because the election was on the 6th, and I don't understand how things was happening. But however, when we get the information, again, it is a matter before the fraud squad, and they will do the necessary due diligence to get this matter sorted so we can take the necessary steps going forward, right?
And finish building outside.
And yeah.
Finish building outside.
Yes, right. As you see, there isn't any electricity, there isn't any plumbing, and what I'm seeing here is a poor, shady work. Very poor. However, when we get the information, we will pass it on. If you look at the thing, as I said, for those who enter the construction, if you look up, you will see a ceiling. So there's no need for a drop ceiling, right? And if you look at some of the work, I can understand why they want to hide it. However, we are just guided by the documentation that is going to be forthcoming. Again, persons on the previous board have had a duty of due diligence to provide this documentation. It is not a case where they keep it in their homes or in their house. Documents regarding the company and how monies are spent supposed to be itemized, supposed to be in a structured manner and in a fireproof cabinet down at the compound so that persons can peruse this as it relates to what is happening, right? So that is where we are. I'm very glad that persons are here. If you like, we can do a tour of the facility so that you will see exactly what you are. There aren't any running waters. There's no running water. There's no electricity. So keep that in mind, right?
What was the initial completion date for this?
I can't, again, in the absence of the documentation, I can't answer that.
Observe that there is no electrical conduits in these walls. There's no plugs, no switches. We don't know how we're going to get current into this. I don't know what was their intention. Another thing is that this is incorrect cover. It's supposed to be stainless steel. It's not good. Stainless? Yeah, it's supposed to be stainless steel so that when you wash down, you be able to wash everything down correctly. We have no the drainage here. The drainage is a drain here. When you wash, so we don't know where the drain leads to. So again, in the absence of information, it's difficult to ascertain what was supposed to be happening here. So again, we just want to highlight that there's no electrical conduits in walls. There's no lights and switches in this area. You can see it's all sealed up. So there's no provision for any lights. And this facility is costing taxpayers $6 million. $6 million, this is what taxpayers have been paying for.
And there you have it, folks. That was a tour of the Goldsboro processing facility by the chairman, Mr. Ricardo Alfred. And I mean, as we sat here in studio, that was very painful to watch.
Indeed.
It was very painful to watch, especially seeing that Tobagonians have a natural knack for knowing how to spend money, especially when it comes to building things. We've seen people build mansions with less than half of what that $6.7 million has given us right now. And it is quite disappointing because yesterday we had some comments coming off of social media from our ex-chief secretary, Mr. Ansel Dennis, who hinted to the fact that the building was in great shape. And the reason why the building has been deteriorated is because of the current administration probably not maintaining the building or just leaving the building to languish. But from what we have seen in this video, the atrocity is far worse than not opening a building for 1 year. Tell us a little bit about what is happening at this current time with that building there at Goldsboro.
Well, absolutely nothing can happen at that site for obvious reasons. So that is why, and not only that, I mean, he would have indicated that when the board was appointed, they would have gone through the entire process to retrieve the documents. They tried relentlessly. I tried at my end. They didn't get anywhere with it. And of course, we had to do the responsible thing of taking the matter to the fraud squad.
Right. So does the Freedom of Information Act apply here for you guys to get the documents? Or is it that the documents just don't seem to exist? Has someone cleared out that cabinet before leaving?
Well, I mean, I can be corrected. My understanding of the Freedom of Information Act, if you as a member of the public, you'd want to have information, you can request the information and you're free to get it because, you know, you're a taxpayer, right? In terms of us basically getting information from the last board, I'm not sure why they didn't leave any information. And this is not the only instance where when we got into office, that persons would have destroyed information, cleared the desks, wiped computers. So we have a lot of that in my division. I just tend to focus on the positive side of my division because I see myself as a brand ambassador for Tobago. And when I leave here, or whenever I engage, you know, in discussions with persons,
especially
I want to be able to sell Tobago and our potential. So that is why I don't go down that road.
But these are the realities that we face.
Yes, I understand. I know that, you know, in this, I would have to someday, you know, explain. Well, I mean, it was brought out by Mr. Murray, actually, and the board felt that they should clarify information in the public that, you know, persons wouldn't have, right? So that is why that was put out there. But it wasn't initial thought that we should just jump out there and just tell everybody everything. You know, we try to treat it in a logical, you know, order.
But if the natural process is that the previous board has to hand over documentation, why has that not been done? And is it that the investigation would be pointed directly to the previous board members?
Well, I would challenge the media, I would challenge taxpayers, I would challenge all members of the public to call on the previous board for them to answer, because you cannot go forward with the building and you have no documentation, no design layout, nothing. You can't go to T and Tech, the electrical inspectorate can't do their jobs. How do we go forward? Oh, when you need so much, you need to have some information on the building, and that goes for a lot of things that we don't have information for.
So are you saying to me that there was no proposal, no executive council note regarding this building?
We haven't seen anything. I haven't seen a contract. Nothing at all that we could speak to, you know. So that is why the matter was sent to the fraud squad. And I want to say something. I believe I should mention it. Now, earlier in the year, coming out of the retreat that we had, some of the proposals made by our consultant, like Dr. Vanos, for example, he would have suggested having an advisory committee. And that proposal, I took it upon myself to follow through with my technical team, and we conceptualized, you know, an advisory, you know, what the advisory team should be doing. And part of that would be to interface with the public so that they themselves can understand some of the processes involved in governance. Because I'll tell you something, even on the inside, now, governance to some of us would be new, right? I've been in the public system for several years, and I would not have served in this capacity. So some things people would not know. Some board members may not know that this is the process that you have to go through in order to achieve things. I would have been called and asked for things that would be a conflict of interest. And when I shut it down, Miss Pantin don't want to give it to me. And I mean, how can I do that? It is a conflict of interest. And then you're trying to explain things and they don't understand. So I think that Miss Pantin should not be the judge and the jury of everything, right? We're living in a democratic society. We're living in a society where we have so many talented public servants. They would have retired in the system and they still can contribute to the development of Tobago. You have a lot of people who understand governance. We need to bring them into that advisory committee so that persons in the public, if you need to clarify, if you want to know factual information and you believe that Ms. Pantin not giving you factual information, you have the advisory committee there. That advisory committee will be able to tell you, okay, the Goldsboro building, for example, you cannot just walk into a building because it belongs to agriculture and just start to do processing. There are several things that need to happen in order to lead up to this. Why you can't do things as a sitting board member, right? Why you can't, you know, there are certain things that people don't understand. And at the end of the day, they say, Miss Pantin don't want to. No, Miss Pantin guided by rules and just like Mr. Alfred. Mr. Alfred would be accused of doing all sorts of things and being a dictator and all these nonsense. But Mr. Alfred has served on boards, not only here in Trinidad as well. He's on the IMA, the Institute of Marine Affairs Board. He has faced the Joint Select Committee. So he understands how the process is involved in all of this. So if Mr. Alfred wants to do something, understand that he's doing it based on how he socialized and his experiences in terms of governance. So all I'm saying is we need to put that system in place so that not only the politician, right? If the politician, even though you misinterpret what Ms. Pantin's saying, right? Or you believe you need more clarity, we need to have that independent committee that could say, hey, look, this could be done this way. If you need, for example, I get calls, just give me a contract. You know, I vote for you, give me a contract. We need to have that committee to understand, look, Ms. Pantin can't just give you a contract because she went up for Bagatelle Bacalet. You understand? And you voted for her. You don't believe her? Well, look, this is the process that you have to go through. We need an independent committee because I don't want to be the judge and the jury of everything.
So can the wider society, the Tobago public, can they look forward to finding out the results of this audit and this report that has been made to the fraud squad?
Well, I'm hoping that they get somewhere soon. It has been almost, 9 months since, you know, an entire year since we've been in office and you know, 9 months of trying. So, I mean, they let the general public come together and demand, you know, accountability from the persons who would have the information. If the company doesn't have information, but people out there in the space, they have documents, I mean, that's even more confusing.
I'm not very sure about having the documentation, but I know Mr.
Information.
Murray, he would have spoken to the fact that it is supposed to be an ozonated building, you know, fully sanitized, automatically sanitized.
But he might have spoken to someone or
he may have been one of the stakeholders that was consulted for the building. And that could be an avenue as well to talk to some of the farmers who probably was a part of the consultation, right? But it is important for us to understand that there has to be some level where the THA is able to get back that return on the investment, right? So what is the plan for this building? Because if, as we see it here now, it doesn't look like it is anywhere close to having the capacity to being a successful processing facility. In the case where that is not possible, what are we going to do with an asset like this just lying around in Goldsboro?
Well, I mean, we did our due diligence reporting it. The police supposed to, you know, take the matter up. As a politician, I mean, there's not much I can do more than what I would have done, and the Executive Council would have done what they are supposed to do, and our lawyers. So it's a waiting game. I want to be honest with you. I don't want to sit here and tell you I know everything, because things that I don't know, I do consult retired public servants, you know, persons in the space. You know, Dr. Vanas, for example, he would tell you anytime I encounter something that, you know, I need extra help, I would reach out to him, right? So I wouldn't say I know everything, but I just want to say that people who know, they can come forward and bring information.
Tell us a little bit about this site handover that took place the day after the PNM administration lost the election.
Right. Well, I remember when I arrived, you know, in my division, it took a little while because after the 67th, I wasn't handed, you know, anything yet, right? But I know when I assumed office, I had a lot of challenges in terms of getting persons to, you know, give over information, to stop some of the activities that they were engaging in. I know that the chief had to put out a notice so that persons would just stop, so that we could do an assessment of what is happening within our division.
So is it that the previous board had continued functioning for a long while after you were in office?
Correct.
And how long after you got into office was the previous board still functioning?
Well,
when did you reinstate your board?
The board was reinstated in January, so it took a while for the new board to be put in place. So maybe they felt that even though the administration changed, that they should just continue, right? But
did they submit their resignation, or were they asked to?
Some persons brought in their resignation subsequently. I can't remember exactly what date, but some did. Some were asked to submit, right? But I think that we would have done what we needed to do. And if persons out there, even if it's a conversation and not documents, bring it forward so you can assist in the investigation.
So you guys have no idea, no plan, no strategy for what the building was supposed to function as, who the building was to engage, who was supposed to run the equipment, nothing of that sort.
We have a responsibility to our clients, under TADCO that is, clients, to take their vision further and the vision of TADCO. So we're going to continue the same process at the Covico Industrial Estate, so that we don't put a stop to the project and halt the activities that we think that would advance Tobago.
Well, the previous Chief Secretary, Mr. Ansel Dennis, he said that you guys engaged Nouveau Farms to do something that the building was already intended to do. So speak to that a little bit.
Well, I'm unsure.
I'm not sure if he wanted you guys to wait and invest that money into the actual building and getting it up to a place where it can do the processing as opposed to...
Right, but 6.7 million was spent there. You're seeing the condition of the building. We have no documents to go forward. You can't just walk into a building and just start and you don't know anything, you know, you don't have a design layout. I mean, he can you know, put forward his views. You know, he's free to do so, right? Nothing is wrong with that. He's a Tobagonian, and I'm not going to speak to what he's saying, right? What we would like him to do is, if he has information on the building, to bring it forward. Exactly, what he should do. And that is what, and as a Tobagonian, that is my perspective.
I think it is also his responsibility as well, you know, in being transparent to put forward that information that he and his executive council would have worked on for this facility.
Yeah, this is not a personal building. This is the building of you know, taxpayers' money would have been spent on. 6.7 million is a lot of money. I don't think I project the food hub, for example. I mean, come on, we could have done so much with 6.7 million, right? Including improving the building at Goldsboro, right? But look at the state of the building.
It also speaks to value for money, where contracts were concerned for the previous administration. We talk about a number of these projects being left with shoddy work. And as we see on the building there, I mean, you know, it's clear that shoddy work was done on the building.
Look at the
and what are we doing to mitigate against that in the future?
Correct. Now, how I understand the system so far, you would select a contractor, right? Procurement would go through the process. So we're hoping that whatever, you know, the division does, whatever procurement does, that they do it with some sort of due diligence. I don't know who the contractor was.
For instance, but is there a policy exactly, instead of hoping that procurement does what they need to do, because it's clear that we entered into a new season where we're still seeing things like this happening. So can you really place the responsibility on procurement when this new administration has the responsibility to drive policy to transform the way that things are being done on the island?
You are correct. And so far, how I understand things, as I said, we're new, at least serving at this level. Contractors would be graded, I believe, right, based on the quality of work. So I am assuming that, you know, based on how they are graded, contractors will be selected such that, you know, projects like this would, you know, wouldn't happen. You know, all the errors wouldn't happen. In going forward, yes, I understand what you're saying. I'm going to take it to my executive council. Again, everybody, you are free to provide advice. We are free to be guided by persons that know more than us, right? But I am sure that, you know, procurement, in the procurement procedure, that they consider quality as one of the, you know, one of the key components of the procurement process, right?
And a lot of Tobagonians watching, they might say, there's not a culture in Trinidad and Tobago of arresting politicians or persons who hold public office, right? So a lot of people might say this is just talk, this is just conversation, it's just, you know, a talk shop. So it is important looking forward to the future, right? A lot of people are saying, well, that's what they did in the past. We want to know what the future holds. There's no going back. We can't change what has already been done. So strategizing and focusing on being able to transform Tobago in a way where we don't see this type of thing happening, because we end up spending 3 times the amount for projects when we could have 3 projects being done with the same possible $6.7 million. It's unfortunate, but hopefully this administration sees the need to produce quality work, as well as continue to consult with Tobagonians as we move forward and have the right people in the right places and not have square pegs in wrong holes.
Well, you see, because it's the way how the entire system is set up. The politician really is not the accountant of the division, and the procurement process doesn't fall under the politician. So, you know, that's just how it is. And you're expecting that the technical team, and you, of course, the politician is, you know, you have control and over your division. So ultimately, it rests on your shoulders to some extent. But the way how it is set up, we have to put policies in place. You're quite right. Continue to work with those existing policies, see how we could improve them, such that these sort of things don't happen, right? But I think the most important thing really for us, I don't want to politicize agriculture, because I'm seeing where very soon food, well, it's already unaffordable to some. I'm seeing very soon that things are going to get tougher. And that is why we're calling the competent and the willing to come out and work together, because you're not going to affect Mrs. Pantin if we don't work together, you know. It's not Mrs. Pantin alone living in Tobago. You're affecting the entire population of Tobago and the way how the country is being run. And that is why we're asking that persons come and contribute towards the development of the sector and not over-politicize every single thing which would lead to our demise.
And then it's important to also make room and, you know, give a listening ear to the individuals who may have opposing views from us. Mr. Roland Murray, you know, he was very adamant in the things that he said last week, but he seems to be a guy who still has a lot to contribute to agriculture on the island. So I think it's really important, as I said, while he was here, as well as the chairman of TADCO, that it's important for us to mend these relationships and ensure that, you know, there's great communication between the associations, the organizations, and the actual division. It's unfortunate that we don't have more time to get into this conversation, because there's so much that's under your purview.
I was born out of agriculture. My grandparents, my parents, I used to plant corn and peas with my daddy up in Belmont and in the back of the yard. So I was brought up in agriculture. I'm a rural woman. If I had to choose between doing something, you know, in the village as opposed to whining and dining. I would always choose to do something in the village. So I respect farmers totally. And I've been saying, and I mean, Mr. Murray has my number, he calls. Actually, the evening he called me, I told him that I would call the company, I let them contact him, and then the next day he was on Tobago Updates. And he knows that, right? So, I mean, everybody is free to give their opinion. It may not be right. You may have your own biases, right? And that is why I'm stressing on the need to have an independent advisory committee, so that Ms. Pantin is not the judge and jury of everything. You also have the advice of persons in the space with all the knowledge and all the experience that could either qualify or disqualify what the secretary says, provide further clarity to you and the general public, so that we actually get truth, and then we can move forward with things, so that, you know, things don't become just tied up in the system because of politics. Yeah?
Excellent. And lastly, before we go, while Mr. Roland Murray was here last week, along with Tyrone Moses, they would have really liked for me to ask, what is the nature of our relationship with Nouveau Farms, and how much is the THA spending on this relationship?
All right, so I could only tell you that Nouveau Farm is assisted in terms, now Nouveau Farm doesn't have a farm, right? It's just a company, and they have all the technical knowledge in terms of bringing products up to, you know, food safety, packaging, you know, branding. They have access to certain markets like the Canadian market and other markets. So the partnership with Nouveau Farm would prove fruitful. The 60,000 people in Tobago, that should not be a target market if you are a company, right? You're supposed to be aiming for regionally and internationally, not just Tobago. You cannot survive. We cannot survive with just the few people that we have here, right? So we need to target markets, and they have access. So the nature of the partnership is that.
So they are doing the processing and the packaging?
Yes, and support, yes.
Okay, they are not providing any stocks, any crops, any products. They are not providing them.
Nouveau Farm doesn't have a farm.
Right, so they are processing the stuff that we give to them?
Once farmers, they have the capacity to produce what the company needs, not the division, the company, right? They will take their produce, and they have the right to decide the product lines in which they want to go into, right? Okay. For me to descend into a conversation that we don't want nothing from Trinidad, I'm not going to go into that. We have a lot of partners in Trinidad that we are partnering with in order to improve the poultry industry and other things. So I'm not going to descend into that conversation. I'll leave it for persons who want to create political mischief.
Understood. And again, thank you so much for being here with us. I mean, I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we don't. So again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. You come and join me here on Good Morning Tobago. Guys, that was an absolutely great conversation that we had here this morning with Assemblyman Natasha Charles Plantin. She recently celebrated her Christmas celebrations on Sunday within her community, and she spoke to us this morning extensively about a number of things that has been happening within her division and at the TADCO level. Also bringing some clarity to that conversation that was had last week with the Farmers Association as well as the Goldsboro Farming Association, right? And we were able to bring about some level of insight into what is actually happening at that Goldsboro processing facility. It has been said that no information was handed over by the previous board to allow for the current administration and the current board to fully function, to be able to utilize or even complete that project. And there is a call out there by the secretary to whoever there is that is out there that has information concerning the project, the contractor, the scope of works, whatever it is, if a conversation, if you even sat at the consultation at Goldsboro or wherever it took place in Tobago, and you have information regarding that, you are being called to come forward. And we as the media, we are also being called upon to hold the previous board accountable.
We need some information,
right?
And then we can do something with the facility. If 6.7 million is the only thing that other people are focusing on, right? We could do something, but we need the information.
Understood. So guys, you heard it here, and be sure to join us tomorrow. My co-host Candice Jackson is going to be here, and it's going to be another interesting Good Morning Tobago. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denise.
Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand